Chapter 182, Chapter 182, Being a Bitch, Deserves a Beat. Chapter 182, Being a Bitch, Deserves a Beat. Rumble. All, ah, ah. All, ah, ah. All, ah, ah. With a loud explosion, the nation's ceiling formation was broken. Countless experts and soldiers were crushed to death by the pressure in the sky. Without the protection of the formation, the tens of millions of soldiers outside the city were crushed. In the blink of an eye, tens of thousands of soldiers were destroyed. Hiss. Rumble. The sound of space being torn apart rang out. Immediately after, the ice flame and the true devil chi collided with a shocking explosion. The destructive power spread in all directions, and the entire space exploded with a shocking demonic chi and a white light. True dragon body protection. As Linglan saw the endless destructive force shooting toward him, he circulated his true essence and cast the true dragon body barrier. The powerful destructive power was blocked outside. He stared at young Master Ming Xiao in the distance and locked his divine sense on him. The sound of blood spurting could be heard. Young Master Ming Xiao spat out black blood from his mouth. His body also swayed, and a shocked expression appeared on his face. Even his true devil chi had been dispelled. The world was extremely quiet. Those who deserved to die were all dead. Those who were not dead did not dare to breathe loudly. They all wanted to know the final result. Either Linglan or young Master Ming Xiao would be defeated. No matter which one was defeated, the great battle would begin. The nation's sealing array had been destroyed and they had no one to rely on. They could only wait for the outcome of Linglan and young Master Ming Xiao. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers had died in the army. The martial emperors did not dare to attack Sky Dragon City, which did not have the national sealing formation. Linglan's heart raced. He had already unleashed Sword Howl of the Heavens and Earth and Ice, Fire, 9 heavens, yet he had wasted such a terrifying icy blaze. However, he was still unable to defeat his opponent. The power of a 7th-level martial emperor was indeed beyond his imagination. Spirit engulfing beast, come out. One want the entire Sky Dragon City to be destroyed. After a long time, young Master Ming Xiao roared in rage. He stretched out his hand, and the palm-sized blood-red halo appeared in his hand. Linglan and the rest had seen it before. It was this halo that allowed him to escape from the imprisonment dimension. They did not know what Ming Xiao's halo was for. If Linglan had used the space banner, the halo could have been broken. However, Linglan had not used the banner yet. Then, everyone was shocked. A terrifying magical beast appeared in the air. The magical beast was 100 meters tall and was no different from an ape. However, this magical beast's height was terrifying. His entire body emitted a shocking demonic aura. Just this demonic aura alone made all the martial artists tremble. A 5th-rank 9th-grade peak spirit engulfing beast. The peak of the 5th rank is equivalent to the peak of the 9th rank of the martial emperor. There are no 9th-level martial emperors in Green Continent. We're done for. All of a sudden, the army and the experts in Sky Dragon City were shocked. Linglan was barely able to hold his ground against Ming Xiao, but he had used up all his trump cards. The opponent had brought out a peak tier 9 martial emperor demonic beast which could destroy Sky Dragon City. The Heavenly Dragon Emperor Nangong Haoming, Li Suifeng, Qin Clan, Li Clan, Lan Clan, Tang Clan, and countless other experts all looked desperate. Tang Zimeng's little face was even more stunned. Linglan had no chance of fighting back against such a terrifying demonic beast. Nangong Mingyue and Lu Yi were also shocked. No matter how powerful a martial arts grandmaster was, he would not be able to fight back against such a demonic beast. They had all witnessed how terrifying Linglan was when he was still a monster. If not for this demonic beast, the situation might not have been as good as it seemed. However, the heavenly dragon's fate had come to an end. Attention, let's work together to send him away. Qing Styx spoke in a serious tone as he spoke to the other 7 martial emperors. They had secretly decided that if they were to encounter any danger, they would defend Li Lingtian and allow him to escape. Lai Xingchuan and the others nodded, circulating their true qi to the limit. In the face of a battle of death, they could only fight with their lives. However, to their surprise, Li Lingtian was laughing out loud in the face of such a terrifying demonic beast and the pressure that could destroy him. Ha, ha. How funny. I have to say that you are a piece of trash. After fighting with me for so long, you can only use this broken demonic beast to deal with me. Do you still have any shame? Everyone was stunned and shook their heads. In a world where the strong were respected, the winner was king when faced with such a situation. Li Lingtian wanted to goad him, but it was obvious that he could not do so in such a situation. Hee, you want me to be fooled? You shouldn't have looked for me. I'm angry. Sky Dragon City and you will forever be history. Young Master Ming Xiao felt disdain when he saw Li Lingtian goading him. With that said, he waved his hand and a bell began to ring. The tall spirit-engulfing beast immediately went berserk and shot toward Li Lingtian with a shocking amount of demonic qi. The shocking pressure almost caused the space to collapse. Seeing the power of the spirit-engulfing beast, everyone trembled. If that's the case, don't say that I'm bullying you. When I'm angry, I'm afraid of myself. The thunderclap wings on Li Lingtian's shoulder flapped. However, this time, he could only move once and was only 100 meters away from his original position. In the face of such destructive pressure, space became distorted, and the thunderclap wings were naturally affected. After dodging the spirit-engulfing beast's attack, Li Lingtian's face revealed a strange smile. With a flick of his divine consciousness, the space around him began to tremble. Boom! A destructive demonic qi burst out from the space. Countless experts felt their chests become heavy in the face of this spatial impact. Even martial emperors felt the threat of death. A huge demonic beast appeared in the air. This demonic beast was even larger than the spirit-engulfing beast, and its entire body emitted a violent demonic aura. Demon King Beast. 6th rank King Beast. Why is there a Tier 6 Devil King Beast? Demon King Beast. A rank 6 Demon King Beast is a martial honored realm. Powerhouse. Is this Demon King Beast his mount? All the experts were stunned, as if they had seen a ghost. They were all shocked when they saw the peak 5th grade and 9th grade spirit-engulfing beast. Now, there was another 6th tier King Beast. The King Beast itself was powerful, and it was also a 6th tier King Beast. Tier 6 and Tier 5 were only one step apart, but the difference was like the difference between heaven and earth. This is the Demon King Beast from the Heavenly Devil Canyon. It was kept in a treasure by him. Why is it subdued by him now? Behind the Tianjin Empire's war chariot, a Tier 9 martial arts grandmaster said in shock. The last time they entered the Heavenly Devil Canyon, they had encountered this Demon King Beast, but it was taken away by Li Lingtian. Roar! Roar! The shocking aura dissipated as the Devil King Beast glanced at Li Lingtian. Li Lingtian pointed at the spirit-engulfing beast before he locked his divine perception onto young Master Ming Xiao. He did not want to be bothered by the battle between the two demonic beasts. It was only a matter of time before the King Beast killed the spirit-engulfing beast. Rumble! Rumble! Upon receiving Li Lingtian's order, the Infernal King Beast unleashed a berserk aura and unleashed a devastating attack. Like demonic beasts, the level of a demonic beast determined the outcome of the battle. The spirit-engulfing beasts were completely suppressed. Even if the defense of the magical beasts was amazing, a 5th rank and a 6th rank were on completely different levels. The spirit-engulfing beast let out a series of sorrowful cries as it was continuously bombarded. It did not even have the chance to retaliate. Our business is not over yet. I didn't want to bully you, but you're too cheap. I have no choice. Is he cheap? Li Lingtian said calmly before he roared and looked in the direction of Sky Dragon City. Despicable. Despicable. How despicable. In an instant, the millions of soldiers and warriors of Sky Dragon City shouted out in a deafening voice. Li Lingtian was amused by the fact that they were cursing so loudly. How should we punish those who commit such a crime? Li Lingtian smiled as he glared at the enraged young master Ming Xiao. You deserve a beating. Beat this B***tch to death. Another earth-shattering curse. For a moment, the atmosphere was extremely strange. Since you deserve to be beaten, then one won't be polite. Li Lingtian said calmly. With a flick of his divine consciousness, the space trembled once again as the silver-winged flying dragon's powerful demonic power burst forth. The huge silver-winged flying dragon floated in the air. The powerful aura of a Type 5, Level 7 beast filled the defenses of countless experts, attacking the hearts of all experts and the army. Yes. Li Lingtian roared loudly. His body flashed as he unleashed heaven and earth conflagration and attacked young Master Ming Xiao viciously. At the same time, the silver-winged flying dragon had the advantage in the air. In the blink of an eye, it had arrived in front of Li Lingtian. One man and one dragon were attacking young Master Ming Xiao fiercely. Rumble. 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 In the sky, two groups of people were engaged in battle. The sixth step king beast was killing the fifth step spirit engulfing beast. Ling Tian and the silver-winged flying dragon's 2 years of experience in working together was now unleashed to the maximum. Li Lingtian unleashed his destructive attack during the gap between the silver-winged flying dragon's attacks. There was no gap in his attacks. He smashed down like a storm. He was fighting with all his might. Li Lingtian, you bastard. You're too shameless. You motherf asterisk cur. Rumble. Except for martial emperors, the warriors below couldn't see the battle clearly. They could only hear the sounds of attacks and young Master Mingxiao's curses. Your mouths are cheap. Why are you still scolding me? Li Lingtian shouted coldly as a series of destructive attacks rained down. The people below were all stunned. Who was this person? The battle actually went to such an extent. Blood Devil Incarnation. Young Master Ming Xiao was shocked. Anger and bitterness surged in his heart. He was actually attacked by a martial arts grandmaster and a demonic beast. If this continued, he would definitely die here. With a thought of his divine sense, his body strangely disappeared. Phew. Rumble. A gust of wind blew, and Ming Xiao's figure disappeared, leaving behind a shadow. At the same time, the Demon King Beast's attack missed, and the Spirit Engulfing Beast disappeared. The earth-shattering destructive attack ruthlessly bombarded the army of 10 million soldiers. Immediately, 10,000 soldiers died under a single attack. The silver-winged flying dragon and Li Lingtian's attacks destroyed the afterimage, but young Master Ming Xiao had vanished without a trace. Chapter 183, Chapter 183, Offending My Heavenly Dragon, Damn It. Chapter 183, Offending My Heavenly Dragon, Damn It. Li Lingtian, just you wait. A voice sounded from the horizon, followed by the sound of blood spurting out. Young Master Mingxiao's figure had already appeared on the horizon. Forcefully using a forbidden technique to escape, his mind suffered a backlash. Heavenly Extreme Tyrant Emperor Saber. When Li Lingtian saw the fleeing figure on the horizon, he hardened his heart. With a flick of his divine consciousness, he unleashed the Empyrean Terminus Tyrant Saber. A destructive saber flare vanished into the horizon and the sky was split in half. The beam of light did not disappear for a long time. All. If I don't die, you will regret it. Another scream resounded through the world. When this sound disappeared, the sky fell silent. Li Lingtian's face revealed a trace of regret. He had let young Master Ming Xiao escape and he would have another insane opponent in the future. He forcefully used the Extreme Emperor Blade, but he was unable to stop young Master Ming Xiao. He was shocked. Fortunately, his true dragon body protection had reached the second layer and his cultivation had reached the martial arts grandmaster level. His physique was extremely strong, or else his meridians would have been destroyed long ago. A trace of blood seeped out. His cultivation was still too weak to use the Heaven Extreme Tyrant Emperor Saber. If this continued, he would only be able to reach the Supreme Realm. Otherwise, he would not be able to fully use the Heaven Extreme Tyrant Emperor Saber. Offending my heavenly dragon, you deserve to die. He should die for joining forces with the demons. I can keep him alive. Kill them. Li Lingtian stared coldly at the army of tens of millions. His tone was sinister as if it came from the netherworld. After he finished speaking, he circulated his vital essence, and the ice river split appeared in his hand. He landed in the sky above the armies of Tianjin Empire and South Mountain Empire. With a wave of his hand, frost fell from the sky, and the temperature between heaven and earth plummeted. In an instant, 100-mile-wide glacier formed, and the million-strong army turned into ice sculptures. The Demon King Beast and the silver-winged flying dragon also joined the battle. Their opponents were both martial emperors and martial grandmasters. A level 5, level 7 silver-winged flying dragon was equivalent to a level 7 martial emperor, and a level 6 Demon King Beast was equivalent to a martial honor. Its strength was even more terrifying than a second-level martial honor. All, ah. All, ah. Countless screams rang out as martial grandmasters and martial emperors were quickly killed. At this moment, the millions of soldiers and experts of Sky Dragon City charged out and the battle began. Li Lingtian's ice river split stopped after 3 tries. With his cultivation base, he could only unleash it 3 times at full force. His true essence was exhausted. He put a heaven-defying pill into his mouth and stopped fighting. However, his divine sense was locked onto the martial emperors and martial grandmasters here. As long as there was a martial emperor or martial grandmaster who was a threat to the heavenly dragon army and experts, he would kill them in one strike. None of the martial arts grandmasters or martial emperors escaped. Tang Zimeng was piloting the heavenly cloud spaceship. On it were countless martial artists from the Li, Tang, Lan, and Qin families. Lu Yi and Nangong Mingyue were also on it. When the spaceship arrived above the army, Li Lingtian returned to the spaceship in a flash. Kill half of them first. Kill all those above the martial arts grandmaster level. Li Lingtian said coldly. The 8 martial emperors were no match for the 16 martial emperors, but the infernal king beast and the silver-winged flying dragon were able to take out a martial emperor grandmaster with each strike. Each strike destroyed tens of thousands of soldiers. At this moment, the battle was one-sided. Shoo! All of the heavenly dragon army gasped. Even the experts felt a chill run down their spines. If he killed half of them first, that would be 5 million. 5 million would be destroyed just like that. Moreover, he had killed half of them first. He would definitely kill the rest. Big brother Ling Tian, how are you? Tang Zimeng came to Li Lingtian's side and carefully observed his body. Li Lingtian had suffered quite a few attacks during the battle. The rest of the warriors were watching Li Lingtian from the back of the spaceship. They had widened the gap between them. The young man from before was now a heaven-defying powerhouse. It's fine. One just need to rest for a few days. A comforting smile appeared on Li Lingtian's face before he greeted Li Suifeng and Qin Susu. He also greeted Tang Zicheng and his wife, as well as the Lan and Qin families. His strength was terrifying, but he didn't care about his family at all. This was because he understood one thing. The pursuit of powerful strength was to use strength to protect his family and enjoy a happy life. If he didn't even want his family, then it was useless no matter how strong he was. Lu Yi and Nangong Mingyue also nodded in greeting. This young man had undergone a heaven-defying change. Your Majesty, after this battle, those who remain will either submit or die. Reorganize the army and the 4 empires to prevent any more trouble. After Li Lingtian greeted his family, he came before Nangong Haoming and cupped his fists to greet him. The speaker was not serious, but the listener was serious. Immediately, everyone on the spaceship was stunned. They had just avoided a calamity and now they were going to organize the four great empires. They understood Li Lingtian's intention to unify Green Province. This was a crazy idea. For tens of thousands of years, the Green Continent had never been unified. It was not that no one wanted to unify it, but that they did not have the strength. Let's discuss this matter properly. Moreover, there are countless super experts and forces in Green Continent. It will be a little troublesome for Sky Dragon Empire to organize the four empires. Nangong Haoming was extremely excited. There was no emperor who did not wish to unify the world. Naturally, he was excited when he heard Li Lingtian's words. However, he hesitated when he thought about the empire's strength. It's up to you to discuss. I need to collect some materials. After a while, I'll go to Tianjin Empire and South Mountain Empire. I heard that the resources in the Northern Nether Empire are not bad either, so I won't miss it. I'm going back to rest for a while. I'm a little tired. You guys do as you see fit here. I'll leave it here for a while. Li Lingtian pointed at the infernal king beast with a strange smile on his face. However, it's not to be trifled with. As long as it's a martial emperor or above, it will kill anyone who enters Sky Dragon City. Alright, go back and recuperate. We can deal with the matters here. Nangong Haoming was shocked. There were still millions of soldiers fighting here. Most of the martial monarchs had been lulled, and even the martial grandmasters had been killed. However, if Li Lingtian were to leave, it would be over if a powerhouse came. He was relieved to hear that Li Lingtian had left the gigantic infernal king beast behind. With a wave of his hand, everyone left the spaceship. Naturally, they understood Li Lingtian's intention to chase them away. Li Lingtian's relatives were the only ones left on the spaceship while the rest of them left. Tang Zimeng piloted the spaceship and quickly entered Sky Dragon City. In the end, the spacecraft was put away above the North Marquee residence. Li Lingtian greeted Li Suifeng and the rest before entering his courtyard. Everyone knew that Li Lingtian had just gone through a huge battle and would definitely need to recuperate. Hence, no one disturbed him. Naturally, Tang Zimeng and Qingping were with Li Lingtian. Tang Zimeng was Li Lingtian's fiancé, so it was normal for them to be together. In the room, Li Lingtian's expression was calm as he tossed a myriad spirit pill into his mouth and began to regulate his breathing. However, there were only a few of the 10,000 spirit pills left. He had forgotten the pill formula of the 10,000 spirit pill in Medicine King's Valley last time, and now he regretted it. If he were to refine the myriad spirit pill himself, it would definitely be better than the Medicine King's Valley's myriad spirit pill. The battle with young Master Ming Shao, a 7th-level martial emperor, might not seem dangerous, but he was the only one who truly understood. In such a battle, the slightest distraction would lead to eternal damnation. However, what satisfied him the most was the power of transposition. He had only grasped a little of this skill, but it actually had such magical power. As for the storage bags of those martial emperors, they were all in his hands. However, they were nothing to his wealth. They were just icing on the cake. However, the storage bags of 16 martial emperors contained more than 1 billion spiritual stones. His current net worth had reached 3 billion. Furthermore, there were countless spirit weapons and profound-level weapons that were piled up in the Divine Dragon Ring. He did not even want to use them, let alone profound-level weapons. He did not even want to use Imperial weapons now. There was no need for that. As long as he could control the Sky Sword and the Heaven Extreme Tyrant Emperor Saber, he would have the ability to gain a foothold. Moreover, there was also a spatial banner. These were all heaven-defying treasures. Needless to say, the Heaven and Earth Creation Cauldron and the Roaring Dragon Combat Halberd were his most important treasures. He hadn't counted the spiritual stones and treasures in the Demonic Canyon. If he exchanged all these treasures for spiritual stones, his net worth would be greater than that of all the martial royal realm experts in the Green Continent combined. It took 3 days to recover. During these 3 days, the entire Sky Dragon Empire was shaken. The experts from Tianjin Empire and South Mountain Empire who had rushed over were shocked to death when they discovered that their army of tens of millions had been swallowed. 10 million soldiers, 16 martial monarchs, half of the army was killed, and all the martial monarchs and martial grandmasters were dead. Moreover, even Ming Xiao had been defeated and escaped. The master of all this was just a young martial arts grandmaster. That was the #1 genius of Sky Dragon Empire, young Master Ling Tian. When he saw the tens of millions of soldiers disappearing and the martial monarch dying, the experts who rushed over immediately fled Sky Dragon City. The Devil King Beast had been guarding outside Sky Dragon City. It had received Li Lingtian's instructions to kill anyone with a cultivation base of a martial emperor or above. Sky Dragon Empire also resisted with all their might and quickly took back the fallen cities. One city after another was once again in the hands of Sky Dragon Empire. All the experts in the world knew that Tianjin Empire and South Mountain Empire had joined hands with the 4 mysterious families and colluded with the demons. The Northern Nether Empire didn't participate in this war, and no one said that they were colluding with the demons. However, the news of the 4 great sects of the Northern Nether Empire joining forces to attack Sky Cloud sect had spread throughout the world. In the Green Continent, young noble Ling Tian's name had shocked the world. Even if one didn't know the names of their parents, they wouldn't forget who young noble Ling Tian was. It was a legend where a martial ancestor killed a martial emperor. A 7th-level martial emperor, Ming Xiao, was also beaten up by young Master Ling Tian. In the end, he almost died in young Master Ling Tian's hands, but he managed to escape. He believed that it would be impossible for him to recover his cultivation in a few years. When they thought of the battle on Demonic Mountain half a year ago, everyone guessed that it was Li Lingtian. Now, Li Lingtian had a Tier 5 Level 7 silver-winged flying dragon and a Tier 6 Demon King Beast. With such strength, even the most powerful powerhouse in Green Province would not be his match. Chapter 184, Chapter 184, Lord Dark Knight. Chapter 184, Lord Dark Knight. Everyone in Green Province knew of young noble Ling Tian. Moreover, the Emperor of Sky Dragon Empire had also given the order to reorganize Sky Dragon Empire. Those who could see the situation understood that something big had happened in Sky Dragon Empire. If it was in the past, no one would dare to believe that Sky Dragon Empire would dare to make any moves. Sky Dragon Empire was the weakest among the 4 empires. It was called an empire only because of the size of its territory. Moreover, when the population reached a certain number, Sky Dragon Empire was practically an exception in Green Island. This was because Sky Dragon Empire was a dynasty for ordinary people. It was only supported by a few super sects and families. Moreover, these sects and families were nothing compared to other empires. To put it bluntly, even a mysterious family was stronger than Sky Dragon Empire. However, a young Master Ling Tian had appeared in Sky Dragon Empire. He had single-handedly defeated more than 10 martial emperors. The 2 great battles had already displayed Li Lingtian's true strength. He had made his debut on the Sons of Heaven rankings, killed Shimen Xian in Sky Cloud sect, killed Heaven's Roars sect, and killed Dongfang Yu. The battle with young Master Ming Xiao in Sky Dragon City was a miraculous formation, and it could be said to be a peerless monster. With such a person, few powerhouses could stop him. More importantly, Li Lingtian had a Demon King Beast which was a Tier 6 existence. A 6th-order Devil King Beast was equivalent to a human Supreme Realm Expert. A Supreme Realm Expert could only be considered an expert in other places. However, in the Green Continent, a Supreme Realm Expert could sweep through the Green Continent and be invincible. While Li Lingtian was cultivating in the Marquis Dam, the higher-ups of Tianjin Empire, Beiyu Empire, and Southern Mountain Empire were in an uproar. The four mysterious families' expressions were also extremely ugly. 10 million troops and 16 martial emperors were gone just like that. More importantly, young Master Ming Shao had been defeated and almost lost his reputation. It was not a big deal if they were defeated by Sky Dragon City. What was more important was that they were worried about Li Lingtian's anger. If a Tier 1 martial arts grandmaster could even defeat a Tier 7 martial emperor, young Master Ming Shao, what other powerhouse could possibly defeat Li Lingtian? If Li Lingtian came to his side, his empire and clan would be in trouble. Furthermore, they had encountered some trouble after young Master Ming Xiao's defeat. How is that possible? Didn't Li Lingtian perish on Demonic Mountain some time ago? How did he come out again? He's even reached the martial arts grandmaster realm. A martial arts grandmaster defeated a Tier 7 martial emperor. Sigh. After receiving the news, Tian Hanyu's expression changed drastically. Only an emperor like him understood the war. His empires had joined forces to attack the Heavenly Dragon and almost became slaves of a fallen country. If the Heavenly Dragon was replaced, he would definitely take revenge. There were not many people in Tianjin Empire who could stand against Li Lingtian. This Li Lingtian is too monstrous. He even defeated Ming Shao. It seems like Ming Shao cast a forbidden spell in the end, causing his cultivation base to plummet. It'll take him 3 to 5 years to recover to the 7th tier martial emperor realm. Among the four mysterious families, Duanmu Ruo's expression was also ugly. There were 16 martial emperors, and the Duanmu family had 2 of them. 2 martial emperors were destroyed just like that. There's no point in saying anything else. Li Lingtian's strength is terrifying. He might have already set his sights on us. Let's think of a way to get rid of him. We can't let him live or we'll be wiped out of Green Continent sooner or later. Gongsun Nanyu said coldly. They were both family and business owners while Li Lingtian was alone. Furthermore, he was a terrifying figure. Such a figure was the most terrifying. Initially, we should not have agreed to this. If we don't get to eat the mutton, we'll be in trouble. Yu Zhou will never let us off so easily. Li Lingtian is another threat. Wang Yuge said calmly. Thinking about how his Wang clan had agreed to deal with Sky Dragon Empire, he was starting to regret it. Gathering for benefits and dispersing for benefits. In this world, no matter when, it was always the same. It's too late to say all this. Didn't your Wang family agree to it faster than anyone else? If you had the heaven mending pill, your Wang family would still have a chance to become a martial honor. Now, you regret it when you encounter a little trouble. It's just Li Lingtian. No matter how powerful a martial arts grandmaster is, he's still a martial arts grandmaster. Even if they win this time, do you think they're invincible? Besides, we didn't defeat Ming Shao. They broke the contract first. If Ming Shao doesn't lose, Sky Dragon City will fall. Our plan will be ruined. Do you think you can trust the people from Yuzhou province? The old man beside Tian Hanyu said sharply. The powerful aura of a 7th level martial emperor burst out from his body. Instantly, the martial emperors below were all shocked. Only they knew the difference between a rank 7 martial emperor and a rank 6 martial emperor. It was impossible to describe the difference. That's right. Brother Shaoling is right. It's just a mere Li Lingtian. He's a Tier 1 martial arts grandmaster. Although he's powerful, he's only a martial arts grandmaster. Any one of us could have killed it. It's just that the army was satisfied with the array formation. If we had used our own array formation, one don't believe that Li Lingtian has the ability to do so. One just need to find a way to get rid of that demon king beast. No matter what, it's always a threat. Bai Mingyu replied coldly. He was right. The 4 mysterious families and the 3 great empires could easily wipe out Li Lingtian and the Heavenly Dragon even if they were in one of the sections. However, they were worried about the king beast. A 6th rank king beast was extremely terrifying. No martial emperor could deal with it. A martial emperor was powerful. Even a peak rank 9 martial emperor would be nothing more than an ant when facing a first heaven martial honored realm expert. Brother Dark North is right. This king beast isn't easy to deal with. As long as the devil king beast is taken care of, one believe it'll be the time for Lingtian to fall. Think of a way to separate the demon king beast from Lingtian and kill Lingtian in a short time. This demon king beast is ownerless. If we can subdue it, who else in Green Continent will be our match? But it's not that easy to deal with a king beast. We have to use an array. Actually, the 12 of us and brother Xiaoling should be able to kill the demon king beast. All of a sudden, the hall was abuzz with discussions revolving around the demon king beast. In their opinion, Lingtian's strength was mostly due to the demon king beast. As long as the infernal king beast and Lingtian were separated, Lingtian would be completely finished. Just as everyone was fretting over the matter of the demon king beast, a sinister voice sounded. As the voice fell, a biak-robed figure was already sitting on a seat in the hall. I can deal with the demon king beast. However, His Highness Ming Xiao has been seriously injured this time. His lord is already angry. You can do whatever you want. The black-robed figure said darkly, his body emitting a dense black aura. The Lord was already furious when he thought of how young Master Ming Xiao had been defeated. Young Master Ming Xiao was the most talented of the 3 disciples of the Lord, but he was defeated by a martial arts grandmaster from Green Island. How could he not be furious? If Lingtian was not eliminated, it would be difficult to take down Sky Dragon City. If Lord Dark Knight makes a move, the Devil King Beast will naturally be captured easily. Hearing that the black-robed man was going to deal with the Demon King Beast, the dozen or so experts in the hall immediately became excited. Lingtian had at least 3 holy weapons in his possession. Once he had the Demon King Beast, it would be much easier to deal with Lingtian. At that time, he would have killed Lingtian and obtained the 3 sacred weapons. Coupled with his martial emperor cultivation base, he would be able to wield the sacred weapons and Lingtian would be no match for him. With a 6th level martial emperor and a saint weapon, even a 8th level or 9th level martial emperor could be killed. It's not that easy to deal with a Devil King Beast. Although I'm a first heaven martial honored realm, the Devil King Beast is a tier 6 magical beast with terrifying strength. Furthermore, there's Lingtian. It'll take a lot of effort to deal with it. The main thing is that one can't make a move here. If one deal with martial artists in Green Island, one will encounter that person. 300 years ago, he was already at the 2nd level of martial honored realm. With that heaven artifact, I can only run away. That's why I can't deal with Lingtian openly. Otherwise, one would have gotten rid of him long ago. I wouldn't have caused so much trouble. Dark Knight said coldly as his body emitted a murderous aura. He had received a lot of punishment for defeating young Master Ming Xiao this time. If he did not kill Lingtian, it would be difficult to dispel the hatred in his heart. However, he could not kill Lingtian because his identity did not allow him to do so. If he killed Lingtian, he would be wiped out by the super powerhouse from Green Continent. Moreover, all the people of Yuzhou would be attacked by the entire continent. He could not let Lingtian ruin his plans. Lord Dark Knight, don't worry. As long as Lord Dark Knight can restrain the Devil King Beast, we'll kill Lingtian. Yeah, he's just a Wu Zong. Once we kill Lingtian, no one in Sky Dragon Empire will be able to stop us. If it wasn't for this battle, I really wouldn't have known that such a heaven-defying monster had appeared in Heavenly Dragon. All of a sudden, the dozen or so super powerhouses were excited. As long as they could kill Lingtian, the matter would be settled. They also understood that the Dark Knight was holding back the Demon King Beast because they were tempted by it. They also wanted this Demon King Beast, but it was not so easy to control it. As for Lingtian, he had been cultivating in his room in Sky Dragon City, comprehending cultivation techniques, cultivating skills, and refining pills. He rarely went out for a stroll. With his current status and identity, no one in Sky Dragon Empire could compare to him, not even Emperor Nangong Haoming. In this world, the strong were respected. Although Li Lingtian was the heir of Marquis Pingbei, he was the one who could fend off an army of tens of millions. If it weren't for him, Sky Dragon Empire would have been destroyed long ago. Countless Sky Dragon Empire martial artists worshipped and respected him. In the hearts of martial artists, Li Lingtian was Sky Dragon Empire's strongest and most prestigious figure. He was an undefeated legend. As the days passed, Li Lingtian continued to refine elixirs. His alchemy skills had improved significantly and his cultivation had reached the peak of a Tier 1 martial arts grandmaster. A few powerful skills had also been successfully upgraded. Although they had not broken through, their power had increased quite a bit. Chapter 185, Chapter 185, Time Gap, 1. Chapter 185, Time Gap, 1. On this day, Li Lingtian opened the Divine Dragon Ring and a figure appeared before him. Young Master, the cultivation speed inside is 3 times faster than outside. If I had cultivated for a while more, one would have reached rank for Martial King. What a pity. Wu Yun left the Divine Dragon Ring with a trace of excitement and reluctance on his face. One day inside was equivalent to 3 times the achievement outside. No matter how talented a martial artist was, he still needed a cultivation environment. Cultivating in the Divine Dragon Ring was much faster than cultivating outside even without using pills. It turned out that Li Lingtian had been cultivating for a long time. He thought about the safety of Tang Zimeng and the rest in the future. If he left, Tang Zimeng and the rest would not be able to protect themselves. However, after seeing his Divine Dragon Ring, he thought of calling Tang Zimeng and the others into the Divine Dragon Ring. However, the Divine Dragon Ring was an independent space. Demonic beasts and plants could stay inside, and he could also enter. However, he was the master of the Divine Dragon Ring, so there was naturally no problem. If Tang Zimeng and the others entered, they might be in danger. Thinking up to here, he naturally wanted to let a person be a lab rat. There were countless guards in the North Peace Marquis estate, so letting them in was naturally the best. Wu Yun had become a lab rat who could not hold on after cultivating for a day. Li Lingtian was always aware of the situation in the Divine Dragon Ring. He had called Wu Yun out when he noticed Wu Yun's condition. "How long have you been in there?" Li Lingtian asked calmly. He had heard before that an independent space was independent of space and even time. His Divine Dragon Ring was definitely a space supreme treasure. Naturally, he wanted to know if the time inside was different from the outside. "Young Master, this subordinate has been inside for 2 whole days." Wu Yun was taken aback. He could not understand why the young master would ask him since he knew the time best. However, when Li Lingtian asked him, he answered without hesitation. 2 days, not bad. This is your limit. This is for you. Go back and cultivate. Li Lingtian was excited but his expression did not change. He then handed a bottle of pills to Wu Yun and asked him to leave. There is indeed a time limit for warriors to enter the Divine Dragon Ring. 1 day outside is 2 days inside. In other words, the time difference between inside and outside is twice as big. After Wu Yun left, Li Lingtian muttered to himself. As the owner of the Divine Dragon Ring, he was naturally unable to sense the time restriction. The demonic beast's body was strong enough that it was not affected by the time restriction. He was not surprised when Wu Yun said that the cultivation was 3 times that of the outside world. The spirit chi and dragon chi inside were so dense that the divine martial continent could not compare to them. He thought about it for a moment. He dared to bring Tang Zimeng and the others along in Green Island because they could enter the Divine Dragon Ring during the battle. Moreover, even the most powerful warrior in Green Island couldn't kill him. Even if he couldn't defeat him, he could still escape. However, he did not dare to bring Tang Zimeng with him if he went to other places. If he was injured and fainted, he would not be able to control the divine dragon ring, and the people inside the divine dragon ring would be in danger. Big brother Ling Tian, can we go in and cultivate now? Tang Zimeng did not interrupt Li Lingtian's muttering. She only asked softly after Li Lingtian was deep in thought. She naturally knew that Wu Yun had entered the divine dragon ring, and she also understood that big brother Ling Tian was worried about her, so he called Wu Yun in to be a lab rat. Now that Wu Yun had come out safely, there was naturally no impact. Alright, the four of you can go in, but be careful. Li Lingtian nodded and the four of them retracted their divine consciousness. Li Lingtian activated the divine dragon ring and stored the four of them inside. Li Lingtian's divine consciousness followed suit and entered the divine dragon ring. He was the original body and could not enter it easily. If he did, the divine dragon ring would fall into the hands of others. Unless there was a strong protection, he would not enter. Just like the last time on Demonic Mountain, with Xiao Bai and the others guarding, he had also reached the point of despair. Otherwise, he would not enter easily. However, his divine sense could easily enter. His divine sense could also form a phantom inside, and he could ignore the existence of space inside. Wow, so beautiful. These are all my 10,000-year-old medicinal herbs. So many spirit fruits. These are 1,000-year-old ones, and there are also 10,000-year-old ones. These are all edible spiritual fruits. The four of them were stunned when they saw the scenery inside the divine dragon ring. The place that Li Lingtian had them enter was not far from the herb garden. Naturally, it was not a place like the Dragon Abyss. Moreover, in the Heavenly Devil Canyon, he had transplanted countless spiritual fruits, trees, and flowers into the divine dragon ring. Inside the divine dragon ring, a perfect world with a radius of 50 miles appeared. The herb garden was 10 miles in size. 100-year herbs, 1,000-year herbs, 10,000-year-old herbs, these herbs were all separated into pieces. The most precious herbs and spiritual fruits were all in the center. The 5 elements rainbow tree and several other important trees were all covered with restrictions, as he was worried that they would be affected. If you're hungry, eat these spiritual fruits, but don't go to the medicine garden. There was a faint smile on Li Lingtian's apparition's face. Such a herb garden was definitely the only one in the divine martial continent. All the spirit fruits he obtained on Hidden Dragon Island were plucked, and only a few trees were brought in. Naturally, Tang Zimeng and the others did not need to touch the other spiritual fruits and herbs. Yes. Tang Zimeng nodded. She knew what Li Lingtian meant. If someone who did not know alchemy touched the herbs, a 10,000-year-old herb might be ruined. Moreover, there were a few trees with restrictions in the depths. In a place like this, even though Big Brother Ling Tian was the ruler, he still had to use restrictions. One could only imagine how important those medicinal herbs were. Young master, what are those trees in the center? There are so many beautiful fruits. Xiao Xiao looked at the 5-element rainbow tree in the center, and her eyes immediately sparkled. She was extremely curious about these beautiful fruits. That's a 5-element spiritual fruit. A martial emperor will have a chance to become a martial honor if he eats one. This 5-element spiritual fruit has been around for tens of thousands of years, but there are only 125 of them. At that time, I had no choice but to uproot it and move the mud within a radius of dozens of meters in. The one next to it is the limitless Tao fruit. If a martial arts grandmaster eats one, he can break through to the martial emperor realm. That is a snow lotus fruit. That's a 5,000-year-old cloud earth fruit. That green one is the evergreen smoke fruit. That golden 5,000-year-old golden dragon fruit. With a smile on his face, Li Lingtian introduced the fruits slowly. Any one of these fruits would be earth-shattering. He introduced them slowly, but the 4 girls were stunned. Eating one of the limitless Tao fruit could allow a grandmaster to break through to the martial emperor realm. Eating one of the 5 elements spiritual fruits could allow a martial emperor to break through to the martial honored realm. If these were taken out, wouldn't the Azure continent be overturned? Not to mention the Azure continent, even in the entire divine martial continent, there probably wouldn't be a second 5-element rainbow tree. In the divine martial continent, resources were always the most competitive. These treasures were all heaven-defying existences. If the 5 elements spirit fruit is taken out, the green continent will definitely be in chaos. Qing Ping said with a smile. What kind of concept was it for a martial emperor to break through to the martial honored realm? It was unimaginable for a martial king like her. Ha, this limitless Tao fruit, if that one was sold, it would be worth at least 100 million. Moreover, it's priceless. As for the 5 elements spirit fruit, one believed that even if the experts in the Azure continent pawn the empire and the family, they will still come to exchange for the 5 elements spirit fruit. This is because if an empire and a family have a martial honor, they will dominate the Azure continent. Li Lingtian said with a smile. He was not exaggerating at all. The limitless Tao fruit was a deadly temptation for a martial arts grandmaster powerhouse. However, a martial arts grandmaster could not afford many spiritual stones. If a martial arts grandmaster were to fork out 1 billion spiritual stones, the limitless Tao fruit would be their first choice. However, he didn't use these precious treasures to eat, but to refine elixirs. A 5-element spirit fruit might be able to make a martial emperor become a martial honor, but in his hands, he could make a 5-element spirit fruit exert 10 times or 100 times its power. This was because he could refine these fruits into medicinal pills. He could divide a fruit into countless portions and refine them. Naturally, the effects of this fruit would be countless times greater than the original. You guys cultivate. Cultivate hard. When the time comes, this spiritual fruit will be yours. Li Lingtian said with a smile. Finally, he withdrew his divine consciousness from the divine dragon ring and began cultivating once he was out of the ring. However, he did not meditate on cultivation techniques. Instead, he cultivated the heaven and earth reincarnation technique or looked at the names and sources of materials. This was because he was worried that Tang Zimeng and the others would not be distracted by his cultivation. If anything happened to them inside, he would regret it. Finally, after a day, Li Lingtian could feel Tang Zimeng and the other three's greeting. In other words, they had reached their limits. The 4 of them left the divine dragon ring with their divine senses. Nothing unusual happened, but their cultivation increased a little. How is it? What's wrong? Li Lingtian asked hurriedly. He was only curious when Wu Yun came out, but now that Tang Zimeng and the others had come out, he was worried. It's fine. It's the same as cultivating outside. It's just that the speed of cultivation is much faster. Tang Zimeng's heart was filled with sweetness as she knew that Li Lingtian was worried about them. She gently held Li Lingtian's arm with her small hand and pressed her face against his arm. It's good that you're fine. We'll cultivate for a few more days before we return to Sky Cloud Sect. Li Lingtian was only slightly relieved after he sized up the 4 of them again and made sure that there was nothing wrong with them. The 4 girls felt shy when Li Lingtian sized them up. Lu Min was the main one. As Tang Qingyue's maid in Sky Cloud Sect, her status was naturally not comparable to Xiao Xiao and Qingping. Xiao Xiao was Li Lingtian's maid since young and they were often together. Tang Zimeng was Li Lingtian's fiancée and wife while Qingping was Tang Zimeng's maid and personal servant. She would be marrying into the Li family with Tang Zimeng in the future. Chapter 186, Chapter 186, 9 Palaces 8 Trigrams Attack and Chapter 186, 9 Palaces 8 Trigrams Attack and Defense Array. 5 days later, after Li Lingtian had arranged everything, he flew towards Sky Cloud Sect with Tang Zimeng and the others. This time, Qin Susu followed Li Lingtian to Sky Cloud Sect. Li Suifeng was Heavenly Dragon's Marquis Pingbei. The war was about to begin and he had to lead his troops to battle. However, Li Lingtian had given 2 emperor weapons to Li Suifeng and he had some life-saving tricks up his sleeve. Qin Susu had nothing much to do in the North Marquee residence. Li Lingtian would feel more at ease if she went to Sky Cloud Sect. No matter what, Sky Cloud Sect was powerful and no one dared to go there. Li Lingtian and the others were chatting and laughing on the huge spaceship as it flew high in the sky. In 2 days, the Sky Cloud ship landed in Sky Cloud Sect. Countless disciples were excited. Li Lingtian had reached a point where no one could be jealous of him. After returning to the Tianyu Pavilion, Qin Susu settled down while Li Lingtian and the others cultivated in peace. Needless to say, the news of his return had long spread to the higher-ups of Sky Cloud Sect. Not long after, Ling Tianfeng arrived at Tianyu Peak. These are the materials you asked for some time ago, but we only collected a small portion. Li Lingtian handed the storage pouch to Li Lingtian. Now that he was in front of Li Lingtian, he was polite to Li Lingtian. Oh, these materials are very important and will be needed in the near future. Don't stop collecting materials. After a while, I'll go out to look for materials. Sect Master, find 3 reliable martial arts grandmasters. I'll create an array for Sky Cloud Sect. If we use it well, even a martial honor won't be able to break it. As long as we have enough materials, even a martial honor can easily kill it. Li Lingtian took the storage bag and sent his divine consciousness into it. He was disappointed to find that only 1/3 of the materials needed to build the aircraft carrier were not important materials. However, he could create a defensive offensive array to protect Sky Cloud Sect. Thinking of this, he felt a little relieved. At least no one in Green Continent could break Sky Cloud Sect, so he could rest assured after he left. A grand array that can kill a Supreme Realm expert. Ling Tianfeng was shocked and immediately exclaimed. What kind of existence was a martial honor? He could easily kill hundreds of martial emperors. He was an invincible existence. In the Green Continent, the figure of a martial honor appeared 300 years ago. At that time, a martial honor was invincible. Just the pressure alone was enough to suppress a martial emperor. What kind of concept was it to create a grand array that could kill a Supreme Realm expert? If anyone else said it, he would definitely think that person was crazy. However, when Li Lingtian said it, even if he was shocked and did not believe it, he did not dare to doubt it because Li Lingtian's strength was there for all to see. Furthermore, he had secretly modified the Li Fire Xian Yang formation the last time, so he naturally believed a lot. Not bad. This Li Fire Xian Yang array is indeed not bad, but it's only effective against martial emperors. If you encounter a freak like Ming Xiao, you can easily break it. When Li Lingtian thought of Ming Xiao's strength and the demonic board in his hands, he felt apprehensive. Killing intent had already appeared in his heart. If he encountered it again, he would definitely kill it. He could not let this person control the demonic board. Otherwise, it would always be a big problem. Then I'll get the disciples below to hurry up and find the materials. Ling Tianfeng was extremely excited and left Tianyu Peak. If he had such a grand array, he would not have to worry about the attack of a martial monarch. If you can't get the materials, send me the news. I'll get them back personally. Li Lingtian's indifferent voice traveled into Ling Tianfeng's ears. Upon hearing Li Lingtian's words, Ling Tianfeng paused for a moment and smiled bitterly in his heart. He even took it back personally. What an arrogant tone, as if Green Island was his world. However, he believed in Li Lingtian's capabilities and he had the ability to do so. As long as it was not a martial honored realm expert, no one could defeat him because he had a Demon King Beast by his side. This Demon King Beast could sweep away experts below the martial honored realm. Even if it was facing a first-level martial honored realm expert, it could still fight. On Tianyu Peak, Lu Min accompanied Qin Susu while Tang Zimeng and the 2 little girls surrounded Li Lingtian whenever they were free. Li Lingtian continued to draw the mysterious object. After 5 days, a 1-meter-wide structure appeared on the paper. There were black lines on the white paper. On it was a huge and magnificent spaceship. Although it was only a meter long, the size and grandeur of the spaceship could be seen from the painting. However, this spaceship was slightly different from ordinary spaceships. There were countless mysterious circles on the huge structure. There were also countless numbers and data that only Linglan could understand. There was no one else in this world who could understand them. Even warlocks, array masters, and even construction masters and blacksmiths could not understand it. This was because it was the basic structure of an aircraft carrier. Although Linglan was Sanwu in his previous life, he was still a university student and was interested in weapons. Although he did not know how to build an aircraft carrier, he could combine the knowledge from his previous life with the conditions of this life. The heavenly cloud flying ship was like an egg. Others said that they drew circles like an egg, but he drew circles like an egg. The heavenly cloud spaceship wasn't small anymore. As long as it was slightly modified and the interior was changed, it would be the shell of an aircraft carrier. Together with the knowledge in the divine array diagram, he could create an aircraft carrier of the divine martial continent. Big brother Linglan, what's this? Like a spaceship? Young master, are you going to build a spaceship? The three women looked at the structure on the blueprint curiously. There was no such blueprint in the divine martial continent, so they had never seen it before. During this period of time, I want to modify the heavenly cloud flying ship and add an offensive formation on it. Then I can kill my opponents without limit. Linglan smiled as his face lit up with excitement. If he wanted to modify the spaceship, he had to at least ensure that it would not be threatened by a martial royal realm powerhouse. This way, it could be considered a true aircraft carrier. In his previous life, those aircraft carriers were also afraid of missiles. He was not so stupid. He had to first set up defenses. Defense, speed, and attack power were 3 in 1. This was perfection. When will it be completed? Tang Zimeng said excitedly. She was a peerless beauty, but she was only 18 years old. She was still a young girl, so she was naturally very curious. Not in a short period of time, because we lack some materials. As long as we find the materials, we can build such a powerful spaceship. Linglan said. The materials they were looking for were all precious items. Even if Sky Cloud Sect gave the order to search for them, they might not be able to find them. Now that the blueprint was complete, he had to start preparing the offensive and defensive array formations. Following that, Tang Zimeng and the rest cultivated in peace while Linglan went into seclusion in his room to study the divine array diagram. He wanted to complete Sky Cloud Sect's array formation before he left. After a month, Linglan walked out of his room with a smile on his face. 9 palaces 8 trigrams formation, Even if a Supreme Realm expert comes, he will be destroyed here. Linglan replied calmly. His body flashed as he quickly scanned Sky Cloud Sect's surroundings. After a full hour, they finally saw Sky Cloud Sect. Although Sky Cloud Sect occupied the Sky Screen mountain range, its building area was only 500 miles. The real residence was only in the outer area. The outer and inner areas added together were only a few dozen miles in size. As long as a formation was built in this area, Sky Cloud Sect would be protected. A stream of consciousness was sent to the Divine Cloud Palace. Immediately, 11 martial arts grandmasters and a martial emperor arrived at the top of the Heavenly Cloud Peak. Take all the disciples of Sky Cloud Sect back to their rooms and kill them one by one. Linglan said coldly. There were tens of thousands of disciples in Sky Cloud Sect and he did not want anyone to see him building a formation. The formation was the sect's defense. Naturally, such a thing could not be spread out. Moreover, he was worried that someone would know where Zhen Xian was and how to break it. Ling Haoming and Ling Tianfeng were stunned for a moment before understanding the situation. They were extremely excited. The more Linglan behaved like this, the more powerful the array was. Then, 11 martial arts grandmasters flew down and quickly gave orders to all the disciples outside to enter the room. They would kill anyone who left the room and those who used their divine sense. This formation is called the 9 Palaces 8 Trigrams Attack and Defense Formation. The main formation has 81 formations, and the secondary formation has 88-64 formations. It can attack, kill, and defend as one. There are 3,600 auxiliary formations. In this world, no one can break them except for me. Not even gods can break them. When there's a great calamity, all we have to do is gather all the disciples together. As long as it's not attacked by experts above the supreme realm, we can kill them directly. As Linglan spoke calmly, the dozen or so powerhouses listened attentively. Their expressions changed drastically, but they did not dare to make a sound. Following that, Linglan led his men to set up the formation and cast a series of magic arts. After a day, Linglan's body was drenched and he was extremely weak. However, he was pleasantly surprised because the 9 Palaces 8 Trigrams offensive and defensive formation had been successfully completed. Even though the others did not make a move, they were still shocked by Linglan's amazing technique. It was only after they were numb to it that they relaxed a little. They were no longer surprised by Linglan. The 3 points were the 3 array cores. Beside each array core, there were countless small array formations. These array formations were to assist the array core. In the end, Linglan placed countless array formations within a 500-mile radius of Sky Cloud Sect. When the array formations were activated, endless spirit chi quickly gathered towards Sky Cloud Sect. Although these formations were just ordinary spirit-gathering formations, which were simple to Linglan, they appeared to be miraculous and heaven-defying to those who did not understand formations. The shocking spiritual energy directly increased the density of the spiritual energy in Sky Cloud Sect by 10 times. Even the outer disciples enjoyed the shocking density of the spiritual energy. Alright, they can come out and cultivate. After Linglan had done everything, he spoke indifferently. He did not even have the strength to speak. This day was the most tiring day of his life. Not to mention his true essence, he had no strength at all. In the end, the other martial arts grandmasters left, leaving only Ling Tianfeng and Ling Haoming on the top of the mountain. Chapter 187, Chapter 187, Linglan City, 1. Chapter 187, Linglan City, 1. They've all seen this array core and array formation. What if? Ling Haoming said seriously as he looked at Linglan. Although he did not finish his sentence, the 3 of them understood. Ha, don't worry. The 3 formation cores are just a supporting formation. It's just a facade. Even you can't break it. I've said it before. In this world, no one can break this array apart from me. This is because breaking this array requires a magic art. More importantly, you need my blood essence, and you need my wisdom blood essence. Do you think there's anyone in this world who can make my wisdom blood essence appear? Other than that, one still can't break this formation. Ha, because other than me, this formation is unbreakable. It can attack, kill, and defend as one. However, after activating this array, all living beings within 1,000 miles of Sky Cloud Sect were wiped out except for the people in this array. Linglan laughed loudly after he finished speaking. The multicolored beast appeared before him and he rode it away from Tianyun Peak. In the blink of an eye, Linglan's figure disappeared, leaving Ling Haoming and Ling Tianfeng standing on the mountaintop in a daze. What a monster! Is he still a young man? He actually calculated so well that he didn't even leave a single flaw. Ling Tianfeng watched Linglan leave for a long time before a bitter smile appeared on his face. This young man had risen to prominence a few years ago and had now reached a height that he could only look up to. An array formation actually had so many schemes. The array core was just a disguise. Sky Cloud Sect is lucky to have such a disciple. He told me the way to break this formation. Although there is no way to break it, there is a way to solve it. It's just that he didn't tell me the real way to break it. In front of this person, you really can't play tricks. Otherwise, even if you die, you won't know how you died. Ling Haoming also sighed. A few hundred years had passed, and he had already become smart. However, in front of this young man, he was still very childish. By the time Li Lingtian returned to Tianyu Peak, he was already beyond exhausted. He then went to his room to rest. The consumption of energy was not as simple as the consumption of true essence. It could only be recovered after rest. If energy could be recovered with the heaven-defying pill, then it would be heaven-defying. After resting for 2 full days, his spirit recovered slightly. At the same time, his true essence had also recovered to its peak. Tianyu Peak had been cultivating quietly with 4 beautiful girls accompanying them. Their cultivation life was carefree, but Li Lingtian knew that there were as many powerhouses as there were hairs in this world. There were only martial emperors in the Green Continent, but it did not represent the strength of other places. Only by becoming the strongest could he protect his family and loved ones and cultivate freely. The martial god was a legend in the divine martial continent. However, this legend had appeared before. Only by becoming a martial god could one fight against all the experts. He had to cultivate the heaven and earth reincarnation technique continuously, and he could not relax on the ice, fire, 9 heavens and the heaven-destroying sword formation. Only by becoming a martial god would he become a true expert. Although he was only a small martial arts grandmaster now, he had the heart to become a martial god and had the conviction to become a martial god. When he was cultivating, he did not forget to comprehend alchemy techniques and improve his alchemy techniques. He had cultivated some of his magical and powerful skills to the extreme, even to the perfection of martial arts. Countless Sky Cloud sect disciples joined the army and began to inquire about the whereabouts of the materials. They were only in charge of making inquiries. As long as there was news, they would let the experts obtain it. If it was a material that even a grandmaster could not obtain, they could only inform Li Lingtian. Li Lingtian searched for the materials with great effort and each of them landed in his hands. He had also taken a look. He had already obtained most of the materials. He was only missing the most important materials. 5-colored heaven-mending stone, mysterious yang white jade bead, 10,000-year heavenly fire liquid, 10,000-year seabed frost iron, meteorite, and star fragment. Any one of these items was a priceless treasure, an important material for refining treasures. Moreover, they were all rare items that were rarely seen in 1,000 years. Even if there weren't many of them. These things hadn't been seen in Green Island for many years. If Green Island doesn't get these, the aircraft carrier is just empty talk. Li Lingtian looked at the list of materials. He had already obtained the rest of the materials, but there were still a few important materials that he had not obtained. Moreover, the materials he obtained were not many. At most, he could barely build the core drive of a powerful warship. However, although the missing materials were important, they did not necessarily have to be gathered together. As long as he had 3 of them, he could build an aircraft carrier. After obtaining these 3 materials, he could build an aircraft carrier. Although it was the lowest grade, even the lowest grade was not something that the spaceships in this world could compare to. Moreover, as long as he could build an aircraft carrier, he could obtain other materials in the future to increase the power of the aircraft carrier. Coincidentally, Li Lingtian was studying the construction plan for an aircraft carrier when his disciples sent him a message saying that they had received news of the 10 Millennium Seabed Frosty Iron and the 10 Millennium Skyfire Liquid. However, these 2 things were controlled by super experts. With Sky Cloud Sect's strength, they could not obtain such things at all. After receiving the news, Li Lingtian left Sky Cloud Sect quickly after giving some instructions. This time, he did not drive the spaceship or bring Tang Zimeng with him. This was because there was no excitement to see in such an event. There was more danger accompanying it. Northern Nether Empire's Linglan City, the Green Wind Sect's place. As Li Lingtian flew through the air, he thought to himself and smiled. The last time the 4 great sects came to Sky Cloud Sect, they were planning to take the Tianyu sword. Although they were killed by him, they had no impact on a behemoth like Green Wind sect at all. He couldn't be careless when he headed to the territory of the Northern Nether Empire. After all, he was a martial artist from Sky Dragon Empire, and there were many experts in the Northern Nether Empire. The Northern Nether Empire was not something that Sky Dragon Empire could compare to. Flying in the air was much faster than riding a sword. The feeling of flying in the sky was refreshing. After leaving Sky Cloud's sect, he took out a cloak from the Divine Dragon Ring and put it on. The cloak was a light layer of clothing, and his face was hidden by the cloak. However, his figure and white clothes made him look even more elegant. Don't look down on this cloak, it actually had the effect of isolating divine sense. It was also impossible for martial artists to peep. In this way, no one would know his identity. Another thing was that every martial artist had their own identity, and that identity was their martial soul. A martial artist only had one martial soul. It was innate and could not be changed even if he wanted to. Unless he was a super genius. A super genius had two kinds of martial souls, one was the main martial soul, and the other was the auxiliary martial soul. Generally speaking, auxiliary martial souls were useless at all. They only assisted the main martial soul. In other words, in this world, a martial soul could represent the identity of a martial artist. Li Lingtian's identity was even more shocking. His ice and fire dual martial souls were known to the world and no one could fake it. However, they did not know that Li Lingtian had a 5 elements martial soul, which was the 5 elements perfection. Metal, wood, ice, fire, and earth. The ice element was a variation of the water element, and it was also a sublimation of the water element. Ice and water came from the same source. Ice was hard, and water was soft. The 5 elements' great fulfillment had 5 martial souls, and any one of them was the main martial soul. There were no auxiliary martial souls. After he reached the martial arts grandmaster level, he understood the rules of cultivation. If a martial emperor wanted to break through to the martial honor level, he must have 2 martial souls. If the 2 martial souls complemented each other, he would be able to break through to the martial honor level. Even if one only had 1 martial spirit, after reaching the martial emperor level, they would have to rack their brains to find a way to obtain an auxiliary martial spirit. Otherwise, they would forever be stuck at the martial emperor level. There was another way, and that was the 5 elements spirit fruit. The 5 elements spirit fruit contained the aura and will of the 5 elements martial soul. Li Lingtian was already at the 5 elements perfection. Naturally, he was not worried about this. All he needed to do was to cultivate continuously to elevate his martial soul. Now that he had left Sky Cloud's sect for the Northern Nether Empire's Linglan city, his entire body was emitting a metal elemental aura. Coupled with the cloak's concealment, no one would be able to tell that he was Li Lingtian unless he used Ice, Fire, 9 Heavens or his signature attack, Sword Howl Heaven and Earth. For half a month, they flew in the sky during the day and rested in the mountains at night. Flying at a high speed, he had already entered the realm of the Northern Nether Empire's Linglan city. After arriving at the Northern Nether Empire, he realized that the cultivation resources and the strength of the warriors here were not something that the Sky Dragon Empire could compare to. In Sky Dragon Empire, a warrior spirit disciple was already considered a small powerhouse. He was also a captain in the army. But here, warrior spirit disciples were just trash. They were no different from Heavenly Dragon's warrior level. The identities of the warriors in the 2 empires were obviously different. Martial kings could be seen everywhere. No wonder there were dozens of martial kings and martial arts grandmasters when he went to Sky Cloud's sect last time. Linglan City. One of the 7 main cities of the Northern Nether Empire, Linglan City. Although it couldn't be compared to Sky Dragon City, it was not much different. Moreover, Linglan City was filled with martial artists. The powerful and towering city gave people a visual impact. Li Lingtian flew down and quickly made his way to the city gate. Powerful warriors like him were everywhere in Linglan City, so naturally, his arrival would not surprise anyone. "Sir, this is your first time entering Linglan City, right? Entering Linglan City requires 1,000 low-grade spirit stones. A middle-aged patrolling warrior king saluted Li Lingtian with a fist salute before he explained the rules for entering Linglan City. Li Lingtian was no longer surprised. Regardless of where one was, one would need to pay an entrance fee to enter a large city. The only difference was the amount of the administrative fee. Alright, 1,000 low-grade spirit stones. Li Lingtian said coldly. With a wave of his hand, a storage pouch flew toward the middle-aged man. 1,000 low-grade spirit stones was just a drop in the ocean for his family. Moreover, he was here to handle some matters and would not easily cause trouble. No one would dare to cause trouble here in the Green Wind sect. Chapter 188, Chapter 188, News of the 10,000-Year Heavenly Fire Liquid. Chapter 188, News of the 10,000-Year Heavenly Fire Liquid. Even he couldn't easily provoke the Green Wind sect, unless he was done with the matter. This is your token. As long as you have this token, you can enter and exit as you please. The middle-aged man handed a token to Li Lingtian and made a gesture of invitation. Li Lingtian nodded and walked straight into the city. With this cloak, no one would recognize him. This way, it would be much more convenient for him to do things. After entering the city, Li Lingtian found an inn in a quieter southern part of the city. Sir, do you need to stay or eat? When a young waiter saw Li Lingtian, he immediately went forward to greet him. He was no longer surprised by customers like Li Lingtian. Give me a separate courtyard. Li Lingtian said coldly as he walked into the inn. Young master, a single inn costs 10,000 low-grade spirit stones a month. Will it kill you to not talk nonsense? I was blind. Please forgive me. Soon, the young waiter brought Li Lingtian to a private courtyard. Naturally, Li Lingtian did not want to waste time with such a person. The cold aura around him made the young man's heart tremble. He didn't dare to say another word. 10,000 lower spiritual stones was nothing compared to Li Lingtian's wealth. Any random trash weapon in the Divine Dragon Ring would be worth more than 10,000 low-grade spirit stones. Li Lingtian found a room in a separate courtyard and moved into it. With a wave of his hands and a flick of his fingers, he cast a simple restriction. Now that he was a super array master, he naturally would not use other restrictions. He could repair the nation's sealing array and also build the 9 palaces' 8 Trigrams attack and defense array. Others called him a holy array master. He didn't know his own cultivation level in the array Dao, but with the knowledge of the divine array diagram, ordinary arrays wouldn't be a problem for him. With his own restrictions, it would be much safer. Although this kind of restriction could not resist the attack of an expert, it could prevent others from spying on them with their divine sense. After resting in the room for a few days, someone found the mark left by Li Lingtian. On this day, Li Lingtian was resting in the courtyard when a knock was heard on the door. His divine perception was activated and he saw a middle-aged warrior king. Li Lingtian opened the door and let the middle-aged warrior into the courtyard. He glared at the middle-aged warrior coldly. Disciple Zheng Yunchao greets Pavilion Master. Zheng Yunchao bowed respectfully to Li Lingtian with excitement on his face. The young man before him was a legend in Sky Dragon Empire, a figure that gave even the powerhouses of Green Province a headache. Some time ago, he had received a secret order from Sky Cloud's sect to search for some rare materials. He did not expect to find the whereabouts of such materials in Linglan City. No matter which sect it was, there were always some hidden disciples in other forces, and Sky Cloud's sect was no exception. Although Zheng Yunchao was a martial king, he was not an elder of Sky Cloud's sect. Because of his special identity, the things he did were also hidden. He had never expected Li Lingtian to come personally. He admired the young man in front of him and he was someone he admired the most. How's the 10 millennium seabed frigid ice iron and 10 millennium heaven flame liquid? Li Lingtian sat on a chair and pointed at the chair opposite him, indicating for Zheng Yunqiao to sit down and talk. Although there was no change in expression on his face or any aura emanating from him, he gave off a feeling of invincibility. What he was concerned about now were two precious materials. These materials were extremely rare. Even if there were, no one would be willing to take them out because these materials were the main materials for refining high-level treasures. By adding these materials into the weapon's power and level could also be increased. Naturally, he would not sell such materials. Just like the 5-element spirit fruit in his hands, he naturally would not take it out to sell. Since someone was willing to take it out, it must be a rare opportunity. He naturally would not let go of such an opportunity. Pavilion Master, the 10,000-year heavenly fire liquid will appear in the Linglan auction house in 3 days. It's the 10,000-year seabed frigid ice iron. We only received news that such a 10,000-year seabed frigid ice iron appeared in Baiyun Sea. Zheng Yunqiao told him the information he had received. It was very dangerous to ask for information in a foreign country. If he was not careful, he might be killed. Arrange for me to attend the auction. Li Lingtian pondered for a moment. Naturally, such a treasure would not appear together. It was fortunate that he was able to get the news. As long as he had information, he would have a chance to get this thing. Whether it was using spirit stones or methods, he would not hesitate. Zheng Yunqiao then left the inn to help Li Lingtian arrange the auction house. Such an auction would be a gathering of powerhouses and one would need countless spiritual stones to enter. However, a few spiritual stones were nothing to Sky Cloud sect, let alone something that Li Lingtian needed. At present, no one in Sky Cloud sect was more important than Li Lingtian. Meanwhile, Li Lingtian was resting in the inn to conserve his energy before he went to the auction house to compete. In a place like Linglan City, it was not like Sky Dragon Empire where danger and competition were everywhere. On the second day, Zheng Yunqiao gave Li Lingtian a token to enter the auction. Li Lingtian handed a storage pouch to Zheng Yunqiao before he left. To him, no one knew how to employ people better than he did when it came to using kindness and intimidation. Inside the storage pouch were 1,000,000 low-grade spirit stones, a peerless profound armament and some 3rd and 4th grade elixirs. This wealth was enough for a martial king to not have to worry about cultivation resources for a few years. There were countless auction houses in Linglan City, but only the Linglan auction house could be considered a super auction house. Whether it was in terms of scale or the level of the treasures, it was not something that other auction houses could compare to. Those who came to participate in the auction were all super martial arts grandmasters and martial emperors. Even martial kings rarely had the chance to enter. Li Lingtian left the inn. His expression could not be seen with his cloak covering his face. Every time he was in the auction, he was the winner. In front of him, no one could defeat him with spirit stones. The money in his previous life and the spirit stones in this life were both extremely important. Without money, one could not walk, and without spirit stones, one could not cultivate. After arriving at the auction house, he flashed his token and walked in. When they entered the auction hall, there were already many martial artists inside. With a sweep of his divine sense, they were basically all martial arts grandmasters and above. The auction house could accommodate 2,000 people. After Li Lingtian found his seat, he closed his eyes to rest and waited for the auction to begin. As time passed, the number of people in the auction hall increased. Li Lingtian took a look at the warriors who had arrived. There were less than 100 martial kings, the rest were martial grandmasters and there were even more than 30 martial emperors. Li Lingtian was shocked. In the Sky Dragon Empire, there were only 7 martial emperors in the entire empire. However, there were more than 30 martial emperors in Linglan City of the Beiyu Empire. Even if it was a martial emperor of an empire, this power was not something that a heavenly dragon could resist. 2 hours later, the doors of the auction house closed, and more than 2,000 seats were filled. After participating in the auction, he also understood that most of these warriors came to trade freely. Only a small number of people came for the treasures here. These people were also the most wealthy. Welcome to the Linglan auction house. The Linglan auction house opens once a month. This time, we will bring you even more surprises. 1 a.m. Hong Chengyuan, the host of today's auction. I hope that everyone will support me and prohibit fighting in the auction hall. The highest bidder will win. There were more than 2,000 people in the auction house, but there was not much noise. Those who came here were all powerful martial artists, so it was naturally not like a wet market. At the front of the auction house, a flight of stairs slowly rose. The stairs were 10 meters wide and 3 meters high. When the steps stabilized, an old man in his 50s walked up with a faint smile on his face. He then bowed to the martial artists in the auction hall. The treasures being auctioned this time are all rare treasures, as well as some powerful weapons and treasures. I hope that everyone will be satisfied. Now, we will begin the auction for the first item. The first item is a low-grade emperor weapon, the Soaring Cloud Halberd. The starting bid is 100,000 low-grade spirit stones, and each increment is 10,000 low-grade spirit stones. Hong Chengyuan took out a weapon that was filled with dense spiritual energy, which immediately made countless experts extremely excited. No matter what grade it was, an emperor weapon was not something that a profound weapon could compare to. If a martial arts grandmaster had an emperor weapon, it would definitely increase his strength by a large margin. It was just that imperial artifacts were often priceless, and it was very difficult to see imperial artifacts appear. The auction house was a magical place. There were some treasures that could appear here, but there were also some magical items that could appear here. If these items were in the shop, they would definitely not dare to take them out. However, it could be traded in the auction house. If ordinary martial artists wanted to sell the treasures they obtained, they would bring them to the auction house to auction. After the auction house got their hands on it, no one dared to investigate the origin of the treasure. 110,000 low-grade spirit stones. 120,000 low-grade spirit stones. 130,000 low-grade spirit stones. After Hong Chengyuan finished speaking, the competition started. However, these competitors were all martial arts grandmasters. Martial Royal Realm experts would not compete with martial arts grandmasters at all. Although martial monarch realm experts also needed emperor weapons, it was not good for them to compete with the younger generation. Even if they wanted to compete, they would have to obtain them in the end. Linglan did not even bother to look at the competition below. He would not accept an emperor weapon even if it was given to him. The intense competition continued. Linglan closed his eyes to rest as he waited for the appearance of the myriad-year heavenly fire elixir. The first 5 items had all been auctioned off, but Linglan was not tempted at all. They were all rare herbs and elixirs, or powerful treasures and skills. However, Linglan had all of these and there was no need to waste spiritual stones to compete. Linglan did not attend the free trade session either. However, he noticed that there were a few people in the auction house who did not attend the free trade session. It was a woman in red. She had a noble temperament and an extremely cold appearance that gave people the feeling that strangers were not allowed to approach her. This was related to one's physique and personality, as well as one's talent in cultivation. The ice-type aura around one's body was extremely dense. Even the martial artists sitting next to them had to use their body protection at any time to resist this uncomfortable cold air. Chapter 189, Chapter 189, Azure Yang Pill Recipe. Chapter 189, Azure Yang Pill Recipe. Linglan was surprised. The woman looked to be in her 20s, but he could not tell the depth of her cultivation base. However, the shock in his heart disappeared in a flash. There were all kinds of strange things in the divine martial continent. Some of the magical techniques and skills could hide one's cultivation. There were also countless experts in this world. Perhaps this woman was a super expert. Other than her, there were also a few martial monarch powerhouses, and they were all at the 4th or 5th level. Li Lingtian observed for a moment before closing his eyes to rest. He was waiting for the auction for the myriad-year heavenly fire elixir after the free trade. He was not interested in the other items. It was only 2 hours. For martial artists who cultivated, it was just a blink of an eye. As time passed, some martial artists began to return to the auction house. The free trade has ended. Congratulations on your fruitful return. Now, we will begin the auction for the 6th item. Hong Chengyuan shouted when he saw that all the warriors had returned. At the same time, a box appeared in his hand. The brocade box was ordinary, and he did not know what was inside. The 6th item is a pill recipe. It's a Tier 5 Azure Yang pill. This recipe requires a spirit alchemist to use. Only spirit alchemists can refine pills. The starting price is 200,000. Each increment is 10,000 low-grade spirit stones. Hong Chengyuan unhurriedly opened the brocade box and took out a light green pill formula jade slip from within. He began to give a simple introduction. Upon hearing a Tier 5 pill formula, all the martial artists were incomparably excited. A Tier 5 pill formula was a formula for refining Tier 5 medicinal pills. If one had this pill formula, they would have a chance to refine Tier 5 medicinal pills. What kind of existence was a 5th-grade medicinal pill? It was a medicinal pill that martial arts grandmasters and martial emperors had to use to cultivate and improve their cultivation. However, after the excitement, they were no longer excited because this pill formula was a special item for pill refiners. Moreover, it was a pill formula that could only be used by level 5 pill refiners. Is there anyone who needs this Azure Yang pill formula? I won't be polite if you take it. 210,000 low-grade spirit stones. After a while, a middle-aged, white-haired martial emperor who was at the 2nd level of the martial emperor realm said loudly after the silence in the auction hall. It was impossible to tell whether this white-haired middle-aged man was middle-aged or old. 5th rank spirit pill master, not bad. Li Lingtian thought to himself. As a fellow alchemist, he could naturally sense the middle-aged white-haired warrior's alchemy cultivation. Who said you don't want this pill formula? It's just 210,000 low-grade spirit stones, and you want to take it. 300,000 spirit stones. After the white-haired middle-aged man called out the price, an old man said indifferently. His face was full of disdain. He was a 2nd-level martial emperor and also a spirit alchemist. Li Lingtian began to despise him in his heart. If he were to criticize others like that, he would only raise the bid by 80,000. 310,000 low-grade spirit stones. 350,000 low-grade spirit stones. 400,000 low-grade spirit stones. The 6 or 7 alchemists were competing non-stop. The other martial arts grandmasters and martial emperors were all watching. They could not afford to offend the alchemists. Moreover, this pill formula was of no use to them, so there was naturally no need to compete. The price soared rapidly. In just a moment, the price had already reached 800,000 shipping spirit stones from the starting price of 200,000. Li Lingtian smiled faintly as he watched the alchemists compete. This price was nothing to the alchemists. They were only competing for fun. Naturally, Li Lingtian understood the true price. He would not be able to get this pill formula for less than 5 million. Moreover, this was a competition between 7 spirit alchemists. Regardless of whether it was for face or benefits, it was impossible to easily give up this pill formula. 2 million low-grade spirit stones. I'll bid. Li Lingtian shouted calmly and increased the bid by 1 million to 2 million. All the warriors turned to look at Li Lingtian, but they could not see the expression on his face. A few of the spirit alchemists were displeased. They didn't expect that other than the pill alchemists, there would be someone else competing. Wasn't this a slap to the face of the pill alchemists? 2,010,000 spirit stones. The Qinghe alchemist's face was gloomy, but he did not dare to break the rules of the auction house. he could only compete on the price. 2,020,000 low-grade spirit stones. 2,030,000 low-grade spirit stones. 2,040,000 low-grade spirit stones. 2,050,000 low-grade spirit stones. The few alchemists wore a grim smile on their faces as the price slowly rose, completely ignoring Linglan. All the warriors gradually shifted their gaze away from Linglan. 3 million low-grade spirit stones. Linglan's voice was still calm, but it was the most eye-catching. All the warriors turned to look at Linglan again. They were all shocked. Wasn't this a person going against all the spirit alchemists? 3,010,000 low-grade spirit stones. The few spirit alchemists were stunned for a moment, but after that, they began to raise the price again. 4 million low-grade spirit stones. The voice was the same as before, without any emotion. However, it didn't make the other alchemists raise the price. Instead, it directly raised the price of the Qinghe alchemist. 4,010,000 low-grade spirit stones. Alchemist Hai Lin said softly. A few million spirit stones were nothing to him. They could feel that this young man in white was deliberately going against them. 5 million low-grade spirit stones. 5,010,000 low-grade spirit stones. 6 million low-grade spirit stones. 6,010,000 low-grade spirit stones. 10 million low-grade spirit stones. Every time Linglan raised the price to a whole number, another alchemist would add 10,000 spiritual stones. All the martial artists revealed curious looks, as if they were watching a show. An ordinary young martial arts grandmaster actually went against all the spirit alchemists. In the end, however, Linglan grew impatient and raised the price to 10 million lower spiritual stones. The expressions on the faces of the few spirit alchemists gradually became ugly. They could take out spirit stones, but they were constantly suppressed by an ordinary warrior, and they were unhappy. 10 million low-grade spirit stones. 10 million to compete for a pill formula. What a big deal. The side that is actually competing with the spirit alchemist. All of a sudden, the entire auction hall was filled with discussions. 10 million low-grade spirit stones was also a shocking amount of wealth. Moreover, the person who raised the bid to 10 million was not an alchemist, but an ordinary martial artist. 11 million. Alchemist Immense Forest pondered for a moment and was also angered. He directly increased the bid by 1 million. 12 million low-grade spirit stones. The Qinghe alchemist was startled. He thought that there was some trick in the middle. If the Hai Lin alchemist took the pill formula, he would lose face and suffer a great loss. 13 million low-grade spirit stones. 20 million low-grade spirit stones. Another spirit alchemist raised the bid. After that, Linglan raised the bid again and the price was raised to 20 million. In the auction hall, there was a wave of shock. Was this young martial artist crazy? Not to mention spirit stones, just offending a spirit pill master was not a wise move. 21 million low-grade spirit stones. 30 million low-grade spirit stones. 31 million low-grade spirit stones. 40 million low-grade spirit stones. 41 million low-grade spirit stones. 50 million low-grade spirit stones. 51 million low-grade spirit stones. 80 million low-grade spirit stones. For a moment, all the experts in the auction hall were stunned. Was this still a competition? It was clearly a huge battle. Using spirit stones to fight, a few spirit alchemists and an ordinary warrior were using spirit stones to fight. When Linglan shouted out 80 million lower spiritual stones, the 7 spirit alchemists stopped. They had a strange expression on their faces as they glared at Linglan. 80 million lower spiritual stones was a year's income even for a large sect. However, this 80 million was actually used by a young man to compete for a Tier 5 Azure Yang pill formula. There were only a few people present who could take out 80 million low-grade spirit stones, unless they were a few spirit alchemists and a few super martial emperors. However, even if he used 80 million to buy this pill formula, he wouldn't be able to earn any spirit stones when he returned. Instead, he wouldn't have any spirit stones to buy herbs. Moreover, 80 million was only the young man's bid. Who knew if there would be more bids after that? 80 million lower spiritual stones, going once. 80 million low-grade spirit stones going twice. 80 million lower spiritual stones, going 3 times. Anyone else? Congratulations to Sir number 1165 for obtaining a Tier 5 Azure Yang pill formula. Hong Qing Yuan paused for a moment, and finally began to ask the martial artists below if they needed to raise the price. His main gaze was still on the few spirit alchemists. The hammer fell, and 80 million low-grade spirit stones were sold. A young lady brought the brocade box to Li Lingtian. Li Lingtian scanned it with his divine perception and entered the pill formula. He finally confirmed that it was a genuine grade 5 Azure Yang pill formula. Countless warriors were shocked. Initially, they thought that Li Lingtian was just playing around. They did not expect that he would actually buy the pill formula for 80 million. Now, seeing Li Lingtian skillfully use his divine consciousness to check the pill formula, he quickly realized that the mysterious young man before him was also an alchemist and a very powerful one at that. Take 80 million low-grade spirit stones. Li Lingtian kept the pill formula and activated his divine consciousness in the divine dragon ring. Finally, he handed a storage pouch to the other party. 80 million low-grade spirit stones was already very shocking. However, in his opinion, no matter what item it was, as long as it was useful to him, it was worth it no matter how many spirit stones he spent. This was because spirit stones were meant to be used. If they were kept on them, they would be a pile of trash. If he wanted to use spirit stones, it was very simple. He just had to sell the spirit weapons and profound level weapons in the divine dragon ring. Moreover, he had mastered a rule. Every time he obtained treasures and wealth, someone would come forward to die. Since there was competition, there would be people targeting him. Those who targeted him were all courting death. The wealth of a person who was going to die was naturally not to be wasted. He was also using the wealth of a person who was going to die to compete. Why would he not be happy about such a thing? Next, the 7th item is a middle-grade Emperor weapon, Mystic Moon Slash. It's a wood elemental Mystic Moon Slash. I won't talk about its power anymore. The starting price is 300,000, and each increase is 10,000. Hong Chengyuan's face was filled with excitement. Originally, this pill formula was only worth a few million, but he didn't expect it to be auctioned off for tens of times the price. Chapter 190, Chapter 190, Competing for the 10,000-Year Heavenly. Chapter 190, Competing for the 10,000-Year Heavenly. Flame Liquid. After the middle-grade Emperor weapon appeared, the intense competition began again. Apart from the pill formulas, they were the most competitive items for warriors. However, the few alchemists did not compete with Li Lingtian. As Li Lingtian watched the competition in the auction house, he secretly made plans. He could clearly see that the 7 spirit alchemists had their divine perception locked onto him. Even the 2 Tier 5 martial emperors and the red-robed lady were looking at Li Lingtian from time to time. You're courting death. He snorted coldly in his heart. If he didn't seek death, he wouldn't die. Since he wanted to attack him, he had to be mentally prepared to die. Soon, the middle-grade Emperor weapon was sold. The 8th item was an upper-grade Emperor weapon. The low-grade Emperor artifact was sold for 10 million, the middle grade was sold for 30 million, and the high grade was sold for 70 million. Li Lingtian was shocked when he saw the Emperor weapons. They were indeed powerful and their prices were so high. The 9th item was a set of heaven-grade array formations. Moreover, it was a heaven-grade peerless array formation that could attack, kill, and defend as one. The price actually reached 130 million, which was also the highest price this time. F*CK, one might as well refine arrays to sell for money in the future. Li Lingtian muttered to himself. With his array Dao, if he were to refine an array formation, it would not take long before he could create a heaven-grade array formation. One array formation cost more than 100 million. If he did not have any spirit stones, he could just casually refine a few array formations. Now, it's the last item in today's auction. The last item is a rare material that can only be found once in 1,000 years. It can increase the level of weapons and strengthen the power of treasures. Hong Chengyuan took out a sealed box. The box was about a foot in size and was covered in seals. It was difficult for divine sense to enter, so he had no idea what was inside. The last item, could it be a supreme-grade emperor weapon? It should be some heaven-defying medicinal pill. The last item is usually a powerful treasure. Don't you know? One said it's materials. What kind of material is used to upgrade a treasure? The auction house was in an uproar. What kind of magical material could upgrade the level of weapons and treasures? I believe that everyone has heard of the 10,000-year heavenly fire liquid. Hong Chengyuan looked at the curious looks of the martial artists below and felt secretly pleased. The greatest success of an auction house host was to arouse the curiosity of the martial artists before the items were out. This way, even if he succeeded, the more bizarre he said it, the more curious the martial artists would be, and the more intense the competition would be. In this auction house, 90% of the martial artists did not know what the next item was. Only some special experts or people who got the news from special channels would not know what the next item was. 10,000-year heavenly flame liquid. 10,000-year heavenly flame liquid. Something like this has actually appeared. One haven't seen anything like this in the past 1,000 years. If there really is such a material, one can forge a heaven artifact or even a saint artifact. One didn't expect the 10,000-year heavenly fire liquid to actually appear. Upon hearing the 10,000-year heavenly fire liquid, countless martial artists were shocked. He had never eaten pork before, nor had he seen pork before, but he had heard of it. The 10,000-year heavenly fire liquid was a magical material that was born from heaven and earth. It could enhance the power and level of treasures. However, it had not been seen in Green Island for hundreds of years. Everyone knows how magical the 10,000-year heavenly fire liquid is. Everyone, take a closer look. After Hong Chengyuan finished speaking, he slowly removed the seal on the box. Suddenly, a shocking heat burst out. Although there was no fire or flame, it emitted a heat that could burn the world. A fiery red crystal the size of a bowl appeared in the air. The shocking heat was emitted from this crystal. All the warriors were surprised, but they were also confused. It was clearly said that it was the 10,000-year heavenly fire liquid, but this crystal stone, as long as one was not blind or stupid, they would not think that the crystal stone was the heavenly fire liquid. Li Lingtian smiled. This was the myriad-year heavenly fire fluid and it had been around for more than 10,000 years. Even if the world did not know about the myriad-year heavenly fire fluid, it was impossible for him to not recognize it. The things he saw were all extremely magical existences. The cultivation technique he cultivated was also the ice and fire dual martial souls. Now, he had even reached the perfection of the 5 elements. It was the same for the ice flame. It was unknown whether it was a raging flame or an ice flame. Therefore, this year-old heavenly fire liquid also solidified. This 10,000-year heavenly flame liquid is solidified. The better the quality, the more it can be melted by the power of the flames. There's no low price for the 10,000-year-old heavenly flame liquid. Each bid will be increased by 100,000 low-grade spirit stones. Hong Chengyuan explained, and all the martial artists suddenly came to a realization. Then, Hong Chengyuan put away the myriad-year heavenly fire liquid, and the shocking heat also disappeared. Since you've encountered such a treasure, don't insult it. 1 foot 11 inches pay 5 million low-grade spirit stones. A third-level martial emperor said loudly with excitement. Such a material was rare. Even if he didn't need it, he could make a fortune by selling it. Since it's a treasure, the price won't stop there. 10 million low-grade spirit stones. 15 million low-grade spirit stones. 16 million low-grade spirit stones. 17 million low-grade spirit stones. The price soared crazily. Countless martial artists who were rolling around were incomparably excited. They were even more excited than the experts who participated in the competition. It was as if they were the ones who increased the price. Outside, it was impossible to see the price of 1 million soaring. A price of more than 10 million would only happen in an auction house. Moreover, it would only happen in a super auction house when they encountered a super treasure. Boring, 50 million. Linglan snorted. It was rare for him to compete with these damned warriors. Since he wanted to get his hands on it, he should not waste time here. 50 million could directly suppress some martial artists without strength. As expected, after he bid 50 million, many of the competing experts hesitated. An increase of more than 30 million in an instant. What kind of person was this? When all the powerhouses saw that Linglan had started to compete again, they felt a wave of fear in their hearts. This young man had once used spirit stones to defeat 7 spirit alchemists. Now, he was here to compete for the 10,000-year heavenly flame liquid. How could he let this person live? All of a sudden, the auction house fell silent as everyone turned to look at Linglan. However, true experts would not easily give up for the items they needed. After a short period of silence, someone began to raise the price. 53 million low-grade spirit stones. 57 million low-grade spirit stones. 58 million low-grade spirit stones. 100 million low-grade spirit stones. Linglan made another bid. This time, it was much higher than the previous bid of more than 30 million. He immediately raised the bid by more than 40 million, raising the bid to 100 million. 2 million low-grade spirit stones. What a powerful family. This is 100 million, not 10,000. I've already bought the pill formula for 80 million. Do you still have the ability to compete for this 10,000-year heavenly flame liquid? There's going to be a good show this time. Countless experts had ugly expressions on their faces. Their goal was to obtain the myriad-year heavenly fire liquid, but they didn't expect that someone would suddenly appear. Hong Chengyuan was naturally excited because the higher the price, the more commission he would get. 102 million. 105 million. No million low-grade spirit stones. 111 million spirit stones. Now, there were only 4 Tier 5 Martial Royal Realm powerhouses left to compete. 5 Tier 5 Martial Royal Realm powerhouses and 1 Linglan. The atmosphere in the auction hall was extremely strange. This competition was even more exciting than a big battle. No matter how powerful a martial artist was, without spirit stones, they could only watch. 200 million. A calm voice rang out. This voice was also what the few martial emperors were most afraid of hearing, but it was what the other martial artists who were watching the show wanted to hear. This was because this voice could always bring shock to people. Everyone in the auction house was shocked. They were all stunned. The 4 fifth-level martial emperors smiled bitterly. 200 million was already beyond their expectations. This myriad-year heavenly fire liquid was not worth 200 million no matter what. 200 million low-grade spirit stones could buy a peerless imperial weapon. It could even buy a low-grade celestial weapon. And this IO-year-old heavenly fire liquid was only a material. Even if it could be used to refine a heaven artifact or saint artifact, it was only a portion of all the materials. It really did not count. However, heaven artifacts and saint artifacts were simply priceless. There was no way to find saint artifacts and heaven artifacts. Moreover, If they were to suffer a loss in front of an ordinary martial artist, where would they put their face in the future? 1 foot 11 inches bid another 10 million, 210 million. If there's a higher price, one won't compete. Wei Lin pondered for a moment. This was also the rule between the experts of the super auction house. In the end, after saying this sentence, the competing martial artists only had one chance to increase the bid. In other words, if someone offered a higher price than him, he could no longer compete. Brother Wei is right. I'll add another 5 million. If anyone offers a higher price than me, I won't compete. Similarly, he couldn't raise the price maliciously. As a martial emperor, he naturally couldn't add 100,000 to Wei Lin's price. Moreover, if the price was too low, others might lower the price than you. This was an opportunity, the only opportunity. It was a fight between the bottom line and the net worth. When everyone called out the base price, they would glance at Li Lingtian. In terms of wealth, they feared Li Lingtian from the bottom of their hearts. After the 4 martial emperors increased the bid, the price was set at 240 million. This price was definitely the highest price in the Linglan auction house. Everyone turned to look at Li Lingtian because he had stopped talking. This was especially true for the few martial emperors. If Li Lingtian did not bid at this time, it would mean that he was deliberately raising the price. If that was the case, the warrior would be dead. Is there no one else bidding? 1 foot 11 inches add a little, 250 million. If anyone bids higher than me, then this myriad-year heavenly fire liquid will be mine. This way, I won't have to use spirit stones. Li Lingtian said calmly. The people outside could not see his face, but underneath the cloak, a faint smile could be seen on his face. Chapter 191, Chapter 191, Illusion Maze Array, 1. Chapter 191, Illusion Maze Array, 1. As soon as he finished speaking, all the martial artists collapsed. What was this? His price was already the highest, yet he was still worried that others would raise the price. Moreover, from his tone, it seemed that whoever obtained this myriad-year heavenly fire liquid would die. This was a blatant threat. Even a martial emperor would not dare to be so arrogant, but this martial arts grandmaster youth was actually so arrogant that he threatened all the experts. Instantly, a dozen sharp gazes swept toward Li Lingtian, but he did not move at all. He sat firmly in his seat and completely ignored the sharp gazes. 10,000-year heavenly flame liquid, 250 million. Anyone else? Hong Chengyuan was also shocked. A young martial arts grandmaster had actually threatened all the martial artists in the auction house. However, this threat did not violate the rules of the auction house. And even if it was against the rules, so what? The auction house naturally wouldn't provoke an expert who could easily fork out hundreds of millions of spirit stones. 10,000-year heavenly flame liquid, 250 million going twice. 250 million for the IO-year-old heavenly fire liquid. Congratulations to number 1165 for obtaining the IO-year-old heavenly fire liquid. Hong Chengyuan paused for a moment before he instructed the young female disciple beside him to bring the box to Li Lingtian. All the warriors looked at Li Lingtian to see if he could come up with 250 million. Li Lingtian had already spent 80 million yuan. If he were to take out another 250 million yuan, he would have to spend 330 million yuan this time. 330 million spirit stones, even super sects couldn't afford it. Only those super sects with deep foundations could afford it. Moreover, they would only gather so many spirit stones to buy important things. Li Lingtian nodded in satisfaction after inspecting the myriad-year heavenly fire elixir. He then took out a storage pouch and handed it to the young lady. The young girl received it respectfully and checked the storage bag with her divine sense. Although a cultivator's divine sense was extremely powerful, it would still take a while to count more than 200 million spirit stones. After a full 10 minutes, the girl finished counting the 250 million spiritual stones and finally returned to the steps. During the transaction, all the martial artists were stunned. He could really take out 250 million spirit stones. This auction ends here. Welcome to the Linglan auction house next time. Hong Chengyuan took the storage bag and scanned it with his divine sense. The number of spirit stones in the storage bag was imprinted in his mind. This was the difference between martial artists. The young lady was only a warrior spirit's disciple, while Hong Chengyuan was a martial monarch powerhouse. After the auction ended, Li Lingtian waited for all the warriors to leave before he stood up and left. After leaving the auction house, he immediately felt more than 10 sharp gazes sweeping over. He sneered and walked towards the inn. After waving the inn, he waved his hand and a restriction appeared. The restriction covered the courtyard. When he entered the courtyard, he also discovered that more than 10 experts were staying in his inn. It was obvious that they were going to waste their time with him. However, he did not take it to heart. It was simply a piece of cake for him to leave. Besides, as long as he didn't leave Linglan City, no one would dare to make a move in Linglan City. Following that, Li Lingtian began to stroll around Linglan City, occasionally buying some daily necessities from the shops. After this period of time, he would have to go out to the sea and go to Baiyun Sea to find the year-old seabed frost iron. He had stayed in Linglan City for 3 days. In these 3 days, he had prepared everything he needed. On this day, Li Lingtian tidied up a little. In his room, he waved his hands and cast a series of mysterious spells. Instantly, the entire courtyard was filled with a grey aura. This aura instantly erupted and spread to a radius of 1 mile. At the same time, Li Lingtian's body disappeared mysteriously. The thunderous sound of the thunderclap wings was also drowned out by the aura. 10 miles away, Li Lingtian's aura began to change. The originally dense metal element aura had now turned into a thick earth element aura. He ran out of the city gate in a carefree manner. After leaving the city gate, his body flashed again. In less than a moment, he was already 100 miles away from Linglan City. When the mysterious aura burst out of the inn, countless martial artists who were stalking were stunned. When they reacted, there was no one in the courtyard. Damn it, he actually escaped right under our noses. You're courting death. How dare you play tricks in front of me? So what if you leave Linglan City? One can still kill you. Emir Wuzong wants to play tricks in front of me. How ignorant. Some of the experts hiding not far away from the inn cursed in their hearts. They circulated their movement techniques and quickly flew towards the city gate. However, Li Lingtian was nowhere to be seen when they left the city gate. They reflected his divine consciousness. Countless martial artists were flying, and they simply couldn't determine who was the youth they were chasing. A warrior's soul consciousness could see the other party's aura and appearance within a certain range. However, beyond a certain distance, it could not see the other party's appearance. It could only know one aura. He could easily catch the locked aura, but the locked aura had long disappeared. In an instant, more than 10 figures shot out and dashed towards the outside of Linglan City. When they arrived outside Linglan City, they had long lost contact with their divine senses. Li Lingtian used the thunderclap wings to teleport several times. Such a teleportation did not cause any spatial fluctuations and it directly blocked the warrior's divine consciousness. Soul-searching technique, heaven and earth reincarnation. The Qinghe alchemist and the others looked at each other. They were stunned for a moment, then nodded and reached a consensus. Then, he took out the mysterious compass and cast spells one after another. His face was pale. It was obvious that he had consumed too much energy, or it was the opposite effect of going against the heavens. I already know the direction of this person. If you want to kill this person, you must first distribute the treasures on him. Otherwise, one won't go with you. That pill formula, one want it for sure. After the Qinghe alchemist performed the soul-searching great art, his face turned pale. He casually threw a pill into his mouth and said to the other warriors after he felt a little better. Qinghe, you're too greedy. We all need that pill recipe, but you want it now. I also need the pill formula. I need that 10,000-year heavenly flame liquid. He must have a lot of spirit stones on him. Then I'll take the spirit stones. All of a sudden, more than a dozen people began to compete. However, the ones who were really competing were the few martial emperors with the strongest strength. Those with lower strength could only compete for spiritual stones. How about this? Make 7 copies of the recipe, and each of us will get one. We'll split the spirit stones among ourselves, and everyone who sees it will get a share. We can't use up all the heavenly fire liquid alone. When the time comes, we'll exchange it for spirit stones. Those who need the heavenly fire liquid will have to compensate us with spirit stones. Alchemist Hai Lin said faintly. Then, everyone nodded in agreement. Then hurry up. If we wait any longer, that person will have disappeared long ago. What's the rush? Isn't he just a young martial arts grandmaster? Any one of us here can easily wipe him out. That's right. He's just a mere martial arts grandmaster. Killing him is just a matter of a snap of the fingers. It's just that this young martial arts grandmaster is rich. I wonder what kind of background he has. The crowd discussed animatedly. Then, the Qinghe alchemist flashed and chose a direction to fly in. The other experts followed behind him. Linglan flew through the air and arrived hundreds of miles away from Linglan city in the blink of an eye. He calculated as he flew. Although he had cut off the divine sense that was locked onto him, they could still catch up. It was definitely not that simple to deal with a dozen people. Moreover, this was the Beiyu Empire, not the Heavenly Dragon. He had to be careful. If he was in Sky Dragon Empire, he could have killed him openly. If he did this in the Northern Nether Empire, he would definitely be hunted down by several empires. After thinking for a moment, a faint smile appeared on his face. Looking at the countless mountains in the distance, he already had a plan in his heart. With a flap of his thunderclap wings, his body suddenly disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already among countless mountains. Since you're courting death, then 1 foot 11 inches let you all die a little harder. Li Lingtian's face was filled with cruelty. He would never show mercy to his enemies. After saying that, he used his divine sense and waved his hands quickly. He performed spells and his body flashed from time to time. In a short moment, he had already flashed countless times among these mountains. When the last spell was cast, the few mountains disappeared, leaving behind an empty wasteland. This is the best one can do with the labyrinth illusion array. If my cultivation reaches the martial emperor or martial supremacy realm, one can even trap a martial emperor to death. Li Lingtian said with a smile. He then flashed and returned to his original route as he flew at high speed. He had thought that he would have to return to Linglan city to lure those experts over. However, he had never expected that less than a minute after he returned, he would discover more than 10 powerful auras in his divine sense. A martial emperor is indeed a martial emperor. He can still catch up with us so accurately after losing contact with us. Li Lingtian was shocked when he sensed these auras. If 1 or 2 of them were to chase after him, he could only say that it was a coincidence. However, more than a dozen martial artists were chasing after them. Moreover, the direction was not wrong at all. They should have known this direction and chased after them. Otherwise, these martial artists would not have chased after them all. The distance beyond his divine consciousness was only 500 miles. Li Lingtian was a Tier 1A/I martial arts grandmaster, so his divine consciousness was equivalent to a martial emperor. If he could discover the other party's experts would naturally be able to discover his existence. It's him. I didn't expect the Qinghe spirit alchemist's soul-searching technique to be so heaven-defying. We found him so quickly. Nye Tian was pleasantly surprised. He was the one with the most profound cultivation base. He was a peak Tier 5 martial emperor and was the first to detect Li Lingtian's aura. Chapter 192, Chapter 192, Disturbing the East. Chapter 192, Disturbing the East. This aura was familiar. It was the young martial arts grandmaster who had locked onto him in the auction house. Following that, the other martial emperors also noticed Li Lingtian's aura and their faces were relieved. I've used up half of my true essence. If I can't even find a martial arts grandmaster, how can I still have the face to fly here? The Qinghe alchemist looked extremely pleased. He had used some kind of elixir to recover his Zhen Yuan and his spirit had also recovered to its peak. Ha, a Wu Zong, let's see where you can escape to. Zhang Wu felt the aura in his spiritual sense flying in a hurry. He immediately laughed loudly, just like a cat catching a mouse. The other martial emperors were also smiling. Any one of them could easily wipe out a martial arts grandmaster. In just a moment, Li Lingtian had already spotted a dozen warriors. The distance between the two was quickly shortened to only 10 miles. Li Lingtian's body swayed as if he was suffering from the discomfort of flying at high speed. Do you think it's that easy to leave? Aren't you very arrogant in front of me? This is no longer an auction house. Hand over the pill formula and the storage pouch, and I'll let you have a quick death. The 16 martial royal realm powerhouses shouted loudly when they saw Li Lingtian's desperate state. Their movement technique was neither fast nor slow. It was like a cat toying with a mouse. Li Lingtian did not utter a word. With a faint smile on his face, he flew swiftly and arrived above the array in the blink of an eye. In the sky, he didn't stop. Instead, he increased his flying speed. In a flash, he used the thunderclap wings and was already 5 kilometers away. What a fast speed. Don't fail miserably. Hurry up. Xiao Yuan was shocked when he saw Li Lingtian travel 10 miles in an instant. This speed was even faster than a martial emperor's teleportation. With that said, he sped up and chased after Li Lingtian. The other warriors were also worried that Xiao Yuan would take advantage of them and were unwilling to fall behind. In the blink of an eye, 16 martial emperors were flying side by side. Boom! At this moment, a muffled sound was heard between heaven and earth. The muffled sound shook the minds of the 16 martial emperors. What happened? Not good, this is an illusion formation. Why is there an illusion formation here? What a powerful illusion formation. All the martial artists were shocked. At the same time, everyone had already separated. There was no one else beside them. What appeared in front of him was a gray fog with no end in sight. His divine sense was also greatly suppressed. Damn it, why is there an illusion array here? Xiao Yuan's face revealed a shocked expression. He circulated his true essence and extended his divine sense, but his divine sense could only extend 2 miles. Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of him. In his line of sight, the young martial arts grandmaster's cultivation had actually reached the 5th level of the martial emperor realm. Die. He was shocked, but he understood. If he wasn't a martial emperor, how could he take out hundreds of millions of spirit stones to go against a spirit alchemist? He circulated his true essence and sent out a powerful attack. At this moment, Nie Tian also realized that the martial arts grandmaster was actually a peak rank 5 martial emperor. Moreover, the powerful attack was coming at him. Boom! With an explosion, the two shocking attacks collided. In the air, Li Lingtian's face cracked into a faint smile. The greatest power of the illusion maze formation was that it allowed a warrior to see their opponents once they entered. Nie Tian and Xiao Yuan looked at each other. They were both the martial arts grandmaster youth that they were chasing after. In other places, the dozen or so martial emperors also met the young man they wanted to kill. They were completely affected by the maze illusion. Naturally, they did not know that Li Lingtian was the one who had set up the illusory formation. They did not believe that a martial arts grandmaster would be so scheming. He would never have thought that the young martial arts grandmaster could cast such a terrifying illusion formation. Boom! Boom! Rumble! The Qinghe alchemist, the immense forest alchemist, and the other martial royal realm experts were all attacking their opponents. There were even two identical opponents in front of him. Chaotic battle, it was definitely a chaotic battle. All. A series of miserable screams sounded from the mountain peak. The shocking screams completely disappeared in the illusion array. 1 minute. All of them will disappear. A cruel smile appeared on Li Lingtian's face as the divine array diagram appeared before him. With a wave of his hands, a series of incantation gestures shot into the void. The labyrinth illusory formation was even more stable now. With 16 martial emperors, even the labyrinth illusory formation would have holes in it. Li Lingtian dared not be careless. He had already thought that since the sects of the Northern Nether Empire dared to scheme against him, he would divert the trouble and let these people kill each other. Then, the Green Wind sect would pay for it. 10 minutes passed. As the last scream from the mountain peak faded, the illusory maze became quiet. Li Lingtian's body flashed and he entered the illusory maze. Yes. Upon seeing the dead powerhouse on the ground, Li Lingtian's divine consciousness stirred and he kept the storage pouch into the divine dragon ring. The corpses of the other warriors were all put into the holy demon ring. After tidying them up a little, he pointed with one hand. The void trembled, and the maze illusion disappeared. The mountain peak appeared again. After finishing everything, his body flashed and he quickly flew towards the Linglan city. The Linglan city was the territory of the Green Wind sect. The Green Wind sect was also entrenched on the Qingfeng mountain, occupying an even larger area than the Sky Cloud sect. 16 corpses landed at the edge of Breeze Mountain. Li Lingtian waved his hand and a shocking metal-type attack shot into the sky. The destructive attack landed on the 16 martial emperors, and they were instantly bombarded beyond recognition. Boom! The earth-shattering explosion alarmed all the warriors of Linglan City and Green Wind sect. Many warriors of Linglan City were extremely shocked. Green Wind sect. Could it be that someone is causing trouble in the Green Wind sect? This is the Green Wind sect's world. Who dares to cause trouble here? Let's go and take a look. Immediately, countless warriors flew towards the mountain. The location of the explosion was at the edge of the mountain, so they naturally went there. What happened? Who is so bold to cause trouble in front of my Green Wind sect? Are you tired of living? You're simply courting death. Some of the Green Wind sect's experts were furious because they could not use their true essence in the Green Wind sect. Even if they cultivated, they could only cultivate in a dedicated cultivation room. Only a martial emperor could make such a shocking explosion. A martial emperor naturally knew the rules of the Green Wind sect. It was definitely not a good thing for such a thing to happen now. When the Green Wind sect's ancient martial art practitioners saw everything in front of their sect, they were all stunned. It was a black hole with a radius of 10 meters and an unknown depth. There were more than 10 corpses on one side. It's the Qing River Spirit Alchemist. This is the Longling Tower's Xiao Yuan Martial Emperor. This is Nie Tian. For a moment, the experts of the Green Wind sect recognized the identities of the dozen or so martial emperors and were instantly shocked. Why did all these powerful martial emperors fall in their own Green Wind sect? Even the Green Wind sect could not easily kill 16 martial emperors. However, all 16 martial emperors had fallen here. Not good, I've been tricked. This attack is similar to our sect's forbidden metal technique. The few martial monarch realm experts knew that things were not good. At the same time, they saw the black hole not far away. The black hole was emitting a metal elemental aura. Only the Green Wind sect's forbidden art of gold could kill these martial emperors with this metal elemental aura. All of this was completely framed. Now, even if there were 1,000 mouths, they wouldn't be able to explain clearly. Soon, countless warriors of Linglan city also arrived at the edge of Green Wind's sect. When they saw the corpses on the ground, they were all extremely shocked. Every warrior had a strange expression on their faces as they kept sizing up the pitch black hole. Aren't these the martial emperors participating in the auction? One recognized this one. He seems to be a martial monarch powerhouse from the Heaven Roar sect. This is Alchemist Immense Forest. How did they all die here? Could it be a forbidden metal technique? For a time, countless martial artists started discussing. There were thousands of martial artists on the field, and even the Green Wind sect did not dare to offend these martial artists easily. While all the warriors were guessing, Linglan had already left Linglan city and was quickly flying toward Baiyunhai. He had already obtained the 10,000-year heavenly fire liquid, the pill formula, and the storage bags of 16 martial emperors. However, those martial emperors didn't take their weapons away. Instead, they left them behind. Even though it was obvious that it was a trap, in the divine martial continent, even if they knew that there was a trap, they would still eliminate their opponents for the sake of face. All the experts from the Heaven Roar sect, the Orchid Tomb Pavilion, and the Northern Een cult who participated in the auction died in the Green Wind sect at the same time. Only the Green Wind sect did not lose a single person. This infuriated the other three sects. Naturally, Linglan understood that even if he failed to divert the trouble, it would not be a big deal since it was a piece of cake. With his speed, he arrived at the coast of the Baiyun Sea in a day. Looking at the shocking waves, his heart was in turmoil. This place was the Northern Nether Empire, so they couldn't use the heavenly cloud flying ship. They could only rely on flying swords. In the vast sea, it was indeed impossible without a spaceship, but this was the only way. West of Baiyun Sea, within 100 miles of Chilan Island. Linglan muttered to himself as he flew. Zheng Yunchao told him that the 10,000-year seabed frigid iron was within 100 miles of Chilan Island, but he had to go to the bottom of the sea to get it. It was unknown how deep the seabed was. Moreover, there were mysterious and powerful sea beasts. The strength of the sea beasts was no different from that of demon beasts. Moreover, the sea realm was ruled by sea beasts. Even experts did not dare to enter the sea. A day later, he entered the depths. At first, he could still see countless martial artists hunting sea beasts outside, but the deeper he went, the fewer martial artists he saw. In the depths, level 4 or 5 sea beasts could appear at any time. Even martial emperors did not dare to provoke level 4 or 5 sea beasts easily. In the depths, Linglan found a small spaceship in the storage bag of the 16 martial emperors he had killed. With the spaceship, things would be much easier. Chapter 193, Chapter 193, Searching for Treasures. Chapter 193, Searching for Treasures. Yao Tianjun, is that place you mentioned wrong? In the vast ocean, a huge spaceship was flying at high speed in the same direction as Linglan, heading toward Chilan Island. On the flying ship, Zhua Hao looked at the vast sea. He was also extremely unwilling to be invited to search for precious materials. If it wasn't for the sake of the sect, he would definitely not agree. Brother Zhua, don't worry. We'll reach Chilan Island in 2 days. As long as you stop the others, I'll personally go and collect the 10,000-year seabed frost iron. At that time, I'll give you the 30 million spirit stones one promised. Yao Tianjun smiled. He was a peak 6th level martial emperor and was extremely powerful. For this year-old seabed frost iron, he had spent hundreds of millions of spiritual stones from his sect to invite 6 5th level martial emperors to help. He understood that although he was a peak 6th level martial emperor and had great strength, there were countless martial artists who could think of the 10,000-year seabed frost iron. Moreover, as long as he obtained this material, he would be able to enhance his heaven weapon Cold Light Sword and increase its power by a large margin. By then, he would be able to easily defeat a 7th-level martial emperor. Brother Yao, don't forget. This time, there are countless experts who came to fight for this 10,000-year seabed frost iron. We can only try our best to help Brother Yao block the other experts. Regardless of whether Brother Yao gets the frost ice iron or not, you have to pay us 30 million low-grade spirit stones. Even a 5th-level martial emperor like him couldn't afford 30 million lower spiritual stones. He could only get 30 million lower spiritual stones to fight against some experts. Why not? Brother Hua is right. 30 million low-grade spirit stones. We have to take the risk of offending the experts of other sections. It doesn't count. We only agreed to this because of Brother Yao. Zhao Yunhai nodded. They were 5th-level martial emperors, and they had to stand on the side when they helped a powerhouse at the peak of 6th-level martial emperor. Otherwise, not only would they not be rewarded, they might even lose their lives. Brothers, don't worry. Regardless of whether I get the 10,000-year frost iron or not, I will definitely give you 30 million spirit stones. Yao Tianjun cursed in his heart. If it wasn't for the 10 millennium seabed frigid iron, he wouldn't have spent more than 100 million spiritual stones to invite a few martial emperors at the 5th level. They wouldn't have let a few rank 5 martial emperors talk nonsense here. They cursed in their hearts. If they got the 10,000-year frost iron, they would suffer. Then, the flying ship flew quickly. There was no longer any sound on it, and the few super experts began to meditate and rest. 2 days was just enough time to recharge. As the flying ship moved forward, they would occasionally encounter 1 or 2 experts flying into the distance. They all understood that these experts were all going for the IO-year-old seabed frost iron. As Li Lingtian flew, he kept an eye out for more than a dozen powerhouses. All of them were Tier 4 martial emperors and above. Each of the super powerhouses exuded a powerful aura. When they saw that Li Lingtian was merely a martial arts grandmaster, they looked at him with disdain. Li Lingtian did not mind. If they looked down on him now, he would make them tremble in fear. That would be the best revenge. The spaceship was no different from the plane in his previous life. It just looked different. This spaceship was no different from an aircraft carrier. However, their power source was different. The energy source of an aircraft carrier was oil, while the power source of a spaceship was spirit stones. After Li Lingtian refined the spaceship for a while, he was able to control it easily. The spaceship flew at a high speed while he meditated and rested on it. The flying ship flew in the same direction. In this vast sea, it would not be so coincidental if they wanted to collide with each other. As they ventured deeper into the sea, although they encountered fewer and fewer martial artists, the number of martial artists gathered here increased. On the 3rd day, Li Lingtian arrived at a huge island. It was more like a huge continent than an island. It was an independent continent with an unknown radius, and Divine Sense was unable to envelop the entire island. On the island, Li Lingtian flew around it once and estimated that it was at least the size of Sky Dragon City. An island like this was rich in spiritual energy. There were no demonic beasts or low-level wild beasts. Subsequently, Li Lingtian found a secluded place to settle down. There were more than 100 warriors on the island, all of whom were martial royal realm powerhouses. He didn't need to go to the trouble of finding the IO-year-old seabed frigid ice iron. Naturally, some super experts would go there. As long as he found the 10,000-year-old seabed frost iron, it wouldn't be too late for him to make a move. Moreover, these martial artists were all here for the 10 millennium seabed frost iron. Whoever got this material first would definitely be cannon fodder. He was extremely experienced in this, and he definitely did not have the wisdom of a young man. The other martial artists had the same thoughts as him. When they did not see the item, they would not waste their energy and did not want to become cannon fodder. However, he didn't rest for long before a huge flying ship descended from the sky. This flying ship wasn't inferior to the heavenly cloud flying ship. The spaceship landed, and 7 Martial Royal Realm experts walked down from it. Each of them was a rank 5 Martial Royal Realm expert, and the one leading them was a peak rank 6 Martial Royal Realm expert. His strength was terrifying. The arrival of these 7 martial artists immediately attracted the attention of all the experts. Moreover, the martial artists' faces revealed a solemn expression. Most of the martial emperors who came here were at the first or second level of the martial emperor realm. There were also 3 or 4 levels. The most powerful one was at the 5th level of the martial emperor realm. However, the few people who came now were all rank 5 martial emperors and peak rank 6 experts. Such a combination was definitely an invincible existence. Although there were many martial artists present, not many of them were working together. They were basically all independent. After the 7 martial emperors came down, the rank 6 martial emperor in the lead waved his hand and put away the spaceship. He sized up the sea area and completely ignored the other experts. In the end, the Type 6 expert took out a huge compass. The appearance of the compass caused a strange suction force to appear. This suction force directly absorbed the metal element of heaven and earth. With a flash of golden light, all metal element items would be sensed by this compass. Iron-absorbing compass, I see. Linglan was shocked. This world knew how to use magnets to create treasures. It would be much easier to find the 10 millennium seabed frost steel this way. With the sensing of the metal attribute, the power of the magnet, and the cultivation of a warrior, even the year-old seabed frost iron that was hundreds of miles deep under the sea could be sensed. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. In the air, waves of metal elemental aura broke through the air and entered the sea. Dozens of metal elemental auras entered the sea, and after a full 2 minutes, the Type 6 expert revealed a look of disappointment, before quickly fleeing in another direction. They began to search the area. All the warriors were watching the 7 warriors searching for the whereabouts of the 10 millennium seabed frosty iron. Linglan's eyes were fixed on the Tier 6 warrior leading the group, observing the powerhouse's expression. Seconds ticked by and the few warriors had already searched the area within 100 miles. At that moment, Linglan's face froze for a moment before he calmed down. This was because he noticed that the expression of the Tier 6 martial royal powerhouse had changed. The change was fleeting, but it did not escape Linglan's eyes. Then, the 6th level martial emperor continued to search for the whereabouts of the 10,000-year frost iron with the compass. The few of them flew in another direction. All the powerhouses followed the 7 powerhouses as they flew away. Linglan's expression turned odd under his cloak. You actually came to play such a trick. Linglan watched as all the warriors left. He stood up and looked in a certain direction in the sea. Then, his body flashed and he flew into the distance. Tisk! With a slight sound, he entered the sea. Linglan quickly sank into the icy cold water before he shot off in a certain direction. The direction he was swimming towards was the place where the leading martial royal realm powerhouse had started his search. Although the place had been abandoned, Linglan did not give up. That martial emperor was just setting up a trap. He had already found the approximate location, but he wanted to take everyone away. The further down he went, the stronger the pressure became. He didn't know how many meters he had sunk, and the powerful sea beasts he encountered all avoided him. He didn't want to kill the sea beasts in this place. As long as there was any movement, the other warriors would know. Obediently, what kind of sea beast is this? As Linglan descended, his vision turned black as if he had encountered a pitch-black mountain peak. However, he could clearly sense that the black fellow before him was a sea beast. It was much bigger than the infant carp beast from before. Its entire body was pitch black, and it was unknown how big it was. Seeing this sea beast, he quickly hid his aura and swam far away to avoid this big guy. True dragon protection. After leaving the huge sea beast, the pressure in the sea area became stronger and stronger. Moreover, there were still some Type 2 and Type 3 sea beasts that continued to shuttle over. Although he was only a Tier 2 or Tier 3 expert, he was still equivalent to a warrior spirit or a warrior king. In the sea area, he had lost his geographical advantage, so he naturally could not be careless. Fortunately, he was at the peak of the 5 elements, and his ice element was also water. In the sea realm, he had more advantages than others. In the face of the powerful pressure, he could only use the true dragon body protection. With the protection of the true dragon, the pressure on his body instantly disappeared. He turned into a fish and flew towards the bottom of the sea. The further down he went, the more cold he felt. It was not much, but it was very cold. Just like the ice flame, although it was not huge, it could destroy the world. What a dense chill. This frost ice iron should be here. Linglan thought to himself as he circulated the heaven and earth reincarnation technique in his body. After attaining the 5 elements perfection, his true essence was not divided into attributes. The type of technique he used would be the type of true essence. Although he encountered the cold air, he circulated his true essence and used 2 attributes to resist it. One was the power of flames, and the other was the power of ice. Chapter 194, Chapter 194, Freezing Meteor Rock, 1. Chapter 194, Freezing Meteor Rock, 1. If this cold air was in front of others, it would definitely be fatal. However, it was nothing to him. As time passed, Linglan landed on the seabed. The endless mud at the bottom of the sea could not stop the warrior's divine consciousness. He began to scan the bottom of the sea inch by inch with his divine sense. Huh! At that moment, Linglan exclaimed in surprise. In his divine consciousness, he saw a pitch-black seabed with a radius of 100 meters. The other places were filled with soil and boulders, but that place was a whole piece of pitch-black seabed. Moreover, this seabed was not soil or boulders, but cold iron. With a flash of his body, a ball of light protected his entire body. He quickly dived into the bottom of the sea, his entire body covered in mud. Soon, he arrived in front of the huge piece of cold iron. This was not just a piece of cold iron, it was clearly a cold iron mountain. It was like the bottom of a huge sea. This cold iron would be buried in the mud. It was impossible for the martial artists outside to find it unless the martial artist used a compass. Millennium Cold Steel. Linglan felt the quality of the cold steel and a hint of disappointment appeared on his face. This was cold steel, not frost steel or 10,000-year-old frost steel. His divine sense moved inch by inch, scanning the entire 100-meter-wide piece of cold iron. Just as he was about to give up, he frowned and revealed a hint of surprise on his face. He quickly flew to the other side of the cold iron. Freezing Sky Meteor. Linglan looked at the side of the cold steel. The quality of the cold steel was slightly different from the other parts. Furthermore, the cold air was emanating from this place. The freezing sky meteor came from the human realm upon heavens. The freezing sky meteor had to be attracted to a certain location, otherwise it wouldn't have landed. Rise. He smiled when he found that the cold iron was actually a heavenly frost meteorite. He moved his consciousness and an emperor weapon appeared in his hand. He waved his hands and started to dig along the edge of the cold iron as if he was digging the ground. After a full 10 minutes, he had dug a 100-meter deep hole under the cold iron, and his body quickly sank. After 100 meters, he finally saw the cold iron. He was shocked. This cold iron was completely cubic. 100 meters wide, 100 meters long, and 100 meters tall. How heavy was this? Cold iron was 100 times heavier than ordinary refined iron. Such a small piece of cold iron weighed billions of pounds. Even a martial god would be crushed to death by this weight. He was not only shocked by this, but also shocked by other places. In his eyes, this huge piece of cold iron was suppressing an array altar. No one knew what was under the array altar because there was only one corner of the array altar. Moreover, this corner was indeed the real Io-year-old seabed frost iron. This frost iron was attracted by the frost iron and landed here. F*ck, how am I supposed to move it away with such a huge piece of cold iron pressing down on me? Li Lingtian plopped onto the ground. His heart sank as he looked at the mountain of cold steel. He couldn't take away the cold iron within a radius of 10,000 cubic meters. If he wanted to obtain the 10,000-year frost iron, he had to move this huge piece of frost iron away. He looked at the cold steel helplessly. There was nothing he could do. He naturally would not be stupid enough to call out a few demon beasts. Even if a few demon beasts came out, they would not be able to move the cold steel. Try it. Li Lingtian thought for a long time but could not come up with a solution. However, a thought struck him. What would happen if he were to refine this cold steel as a treasure? Thinking of this, his face revealed a trace of anticipation. His divine sense moved and began to sense this cold iron, but after a long time, there was no movement. The expression on his face also became ugly. Wasn't he an idiot? He actually sensed it with a stone. Sacrifice. If his spiritual sense was not enough, he would use his blood essence. With a wave of his hand, he made a cut with his 10 fingers. A trace of blood essence wrapped in true essence surged towards the cold iron. What he didn't expect happened. The originally huge cold steel actually trembled like a bubble, as if it didn't have any weight. Li Lingtian's face was filled with shock as he focused all his attention on sensing the cold steel with his blood essence. In the center of the cold steel, a spirituality appeared. This spirituality was ownerless, just like a hazy baby. Li Lingtian began to practice his divine consciousness and the spirituality within it. The other party tried to communicate with Li Lingtian's divine consciousness. After a full 10 minutes, the smile on Li Lingtian's face widened. Yes. He withdrew his move and opened the divine dragon ring. His face was solemn. A gray light gradually swallowed the cold iron and finally disappeared into the divine dragon ring. After doing everything, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Although he was the master of the divine dragon ring, this cold iron was too heavy. He had put it in, but his mind was also shocked. At that moment, the cold steel disappeared and the array altar beneath the cold steel was completely exposed to Li Lingtian's sight. It was a 100-meter wide array altar that was also made of mysterious refined iron. In the center of the array altar was a 1-meter-long pitch-black crystal. The pitch-black crystal flickered with a pitch-black radiance. Shocking cold air shot up into the sky. Wherever the cold air passed, the seawater turned into ice. Li Lingtian's body was emitting a faint glow. The cold air did not affect him at all. Moreover, sensing this cold air was extremely beneficial to his cultivation. 10,000-year frost iron, this is 10,000-year frost iron. Li Lingtian stared at the block of frigid ice iron in a daze. This was the 10,000-year frigid ice iron he was looking for. He didn't expect that there would be such a huge piece of frost iron. He wondered how many magical arrays it would take to build such a huge piece of frost iron. He had thought that a fist-sized piece of Io-year-old frigid ice iron would be enough, but the frigid ice iron in front of him was thousands of times bigger than what he needed. Not good. Just as they were stunned, the shocking cold air had already attracted countless experts. After sensing the shocking cold air, how could these martial royal realm experts not understand that there must be a magical item below? Li Lingtian sensed over 100 powerful auras shooting toward him. He had a bad feeling as the aura of the frigid ice iron had attracted the attention of the martial monarch on the island. However, it was too late to regret now. The frost iron was on the array altar. Even if he knew array formations, he could not take it away in a short period of time. In an instant, streams of divine perception swept over. Soon after, all the warriors appeared around Li Lingtian. It's you. Li Lingtian. It's Li Lingtian. Why are you here? This is the territory of the Northern Nether Empire. Do you want to cross the border? What is it? Li Lingtian from Sky Dragon Empire. The cloak on Li Lingtian's head had long since been overturned by the seawater. In the end, Li Lingtian kept it. Many powerhouses who came here knew Li Lingtian. Although he had never seen it with his own eyes, Li Lingtian's fame was world-shaking. Many sects, clans, and higher-ups had portraits of Li Lingtian. It was best not to provoke him. The portrait was meant to warn the disciples not to provoke Li Lingtian. They never expected to see the legendary figure that the three great empires feared in this place. At that moment, many warriors looked fearful. They did not dare to get too close to Li Lingtian lest they were killed. This Lingtian was known as the #1 existence in Sky Dragon Empire and the nemesis of martial monarchs. However, when they saw the 10,000-year frigid ice iron in the center of the array altar, they revealed greedy expressions. There was also a deep fear in their greed. Some powerhouses who did not know Li Lingtian were puzzled as to why so many martial emperors were afraid of a Tier 1 martial arts grandmaster youth. Yao Tianjun was one of them. He was at the peak of the 6th level martial emperor realm and could be said to be the most powerful existence here. Look at your behavior. How dare you act like this in front of a child who's a martial arts grandmaster? How embarrassing. Li Lingtian, right? Get lost, this piece of 10,000-year frost iron is mine. Yao Tianjun said loudly. Although there was a strong pressure and surging waves in the sea area, it was almost a vacuum in front of these Force Emperors. When Yao Tianjun said that, 3 of the other 6 Force Emperors beside him smiled, while the other 3 changed their faces drastically. They subconsciously took a step away from Yao Tianjun. Li Lingtian had even defeated young Master Ming Xiao and almost lost his life in the end. More than half of the army was destroyed by Li Lingtian with just a single sentence. A Tier 5 martial emperor was killed in an instant while a Tier 6 Shiman Xian was toyed to death by his pet. What was even more terrifying was that Li Lingtian had a Tier 6 Demon King Beast by his side. A Tier 6 Demon King Beast was equivalent to a martial honor. You guys. Yao Tianjun and the other Force Emperors felt that something was wrong when they saw the reactions of the people around them. Some Force Emperors even gloated. Brother Yao, it's not that I don't want to help you, but I'm really sorry. Our deal is over. Zhua Hao's expression changed a few times. Without hesitation, he said and then moved far away from Yao Tianjun. Brother Yao, I'm really sorry. I'm the same as Brother Zhua. The deal is over. You can only blame yourself for saying something you shouldn't have. Seeing Zhua Hao leave, Hua Qingfeng also left Yao Tianjun without hesitation. That's right. Brother Yao has been in closed-door cultivation for the past few years and doesn't know what happened in Green Continent. However, Brother Yao has offended someone he shouldn't have offended. I'm sorry for being rude. Zhao Yunhai left Yao Tianjun quickly like the other two. For a moment, the atmosphere at the bottom of the sea was extremely strange. Yao Tianjun was also stunned. He did not expect that these 3 martial emperors would give up the 30 million spiritual stones at this time. Moreover, it was for a young martial arts grandmaster. He had only said some words that a martial emperor should say. He did not expect these people to give up so easily. He looked at the other martial emperors who were all smiling. However, Yao Tianjun could clearly feel that they were gloating. Chapter 195, Chapter 195, Breaking the Formation. Chapter 195, Breaking the Formation. It's none of your business. I'm in a good mood today, so one won't argue with you. When the time comes, we can compete fairly. However, you are not qualified to compete with me. Leave this place in 10 seconds. Li Lingtian wore a harmless smile on his face as he glanced at the martial emperors around him. Wherever his gaze passed, they would lower their noble heads. Finally, his eyes fell on Yao Tianjun. His powerful soul consciousness, ice soul martial spirit, and flaming sacred body made his eyes as sharp as swords. Yao Tianjuan's heart trembled. He had such a feeling when facing a young man who was a martial arts grandmaster. His sixth sense told him that this young man was too terrifying. What? When Yao Tianjun heard Li Lingtian's words, he was stunned and thought he had misheard. Was this what a young martial arts grandmaster would say to a level 6 martial emperor? That was impossible. However, looking at the expressions of the other martial emperors, he knew that he had not misheard. The other party was not wrong either. They were just blatantly threatening him. However, the other party did not say a single word of threat. Even so, it was more powerful than 1,000 words of threat. For a moment, he did not react at all. He was furious. He was the strongest martial emperor here, yet he was humiliated by a martial arts grandmaster in front of hundreds of experts. He spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was deathly pale as he glared at Li Lingtian. As time passed, the atmosphere at the bottom of the sea became strangely oppressive. None of the martial emperors dared to say a word, not even daring to breathe loudly. Yao Tianjun glared fiercely at Li Lingtian. He was a super powerhouse and an old monster. He immediately understood that something must have happened that he was unaware of since so many martial emperors were so afraid of this young man. Although he was furious, he did not dare to act rashly. If he lost, he would lose face. If he won, the other party was just a young martial grandmaster. It was an unfair victory. Boom! At the bottom of the sea, the endless sea water trembled. A huge demonic beast appeared in the sea water and stirred up a destructive wave. Over 100 martial emperors were also sent flying. A shocking pressure pressed down on the sea. All the martial emperors were frightened. They burst out and flew away quickly. When they saw that the demon king beast didn't move, they stopped and watched from afar. Yao Tianjun spat out another mouthful of blood. His face was pale and his eyes were filled with fear. He was at the peak of the 6th level martial emperor, and his strength was comparable to a 7th level martial emperor. However, he was nothing but an ant in front of this demon king beast. 6th rank king beast. Yao Tianjun finally understood that he was too stupid. There must be a reason why all the martial emperors were afraid of a young martial arts grandmaster. Yet, he had to provoke this young man. Wasn't he courting death? Good, very good. You win. Yao Tianjun looked at the devil king beast and glared at Li Lingtian. He felt extremely indignant. However, as a peak 6th tier martial emperor, he had lost all will to fight against a 6th tier devil king beast. With that, he turned to leave but was stopped by Li Lingtian. You want to leave? It's too late now. 10 seconds have passed. It's impossible for you to leave now. Stay here. Those who were arrogant in front of me have already laid down. I naturally won't let you jump around in front of me. The smile on Li Lingtian's face grew even wider, but his tone was devoid of any leeway. His voice was calm and he had no intention of making a move. However, his eyes were fixed on the hill-like demon king beast. As if it had received an order, the demon king beast's body was filled with shocking demonic chi, and the sea water in the sea area began to boil. The seemingly cumbersome demon king beast was extremely agile in the sea. In the blink of an eye, it arrived in front of Yao Tianjun and bombarded him with a shocking pressure. Rumble. The seawater exploded, and all the martial emperors looked terrified as they watched the demon king beast kill Yao Tianjun. A peak rank 6 martial emperor was indeed a super expert. However, in front of a rank 6, even a peak rank 9 Atartial emperor would be courting death, let alone a rank 6 martial emperor. The difference between a martial emperor and a martial honor was like heaven and earth. Li Lingtian completely ignored the battle between the demon king beast and Yao Tianjun. Instead, he focused all his attention on the array altar with a hint of excitement on his face. This piece of 10-year-old frost iron was indeed a heaven-shaking heavenly treasure. It was already extremely precious when it was the size of a fist. He did not expect that a year-old frost iron that was 1 meter in size would appear now. Heaven is Qian and earth is Kuan. Heaven and earth are heaven and earth. Heaven and earth are not divided. It's chaotic. Yin and yang are the heaven and earth. The heaven and earth are divided into yin and yang, suppressing all kinds of demons and ghosts. Li Lingtian looked at the array formation on the altar. A strange array altar came to life in his eyes and mysterious information appeared before his eyes. Boom! At this moment, a loud explosion was heard, followed by a miserable scream. The Devil King Beast's huge palm slapped on Yao Tianjuan's head, and his body was smashed into pieces. A powerhouse at the peak of the 6th level of the Martial Emperor realm had died so easily. Roar! The Demon King Beast's eyes gleamed with pride. With a grab of its huge palm, a storage pouch and a treasure returned to its hand. Finally, it came to Li Lingtian's side to inspect it. All the martial emperors could only watch Li Lingtian break the array. Many warriors knew that Li Lingtian was the legendary Holy Array Master. With the protection of the Devil King Beast, none of the martial emperors dared to step forward. A 6th-level martial emperor was killed in a moment. How could they dare to come forward and take the 10,000-year frost iron? Li Lingtian did not take it to heart that a Tier 6 martial emperor was killed by his pet. It was as if the fall of a Tier 6 martial emperor had nothing to do with him. He looked at the array altar with all his attention. Information flashed through his mind. The layman was watching the show, and the expert was watching the road. Powerhouses who did not know Array Dao could only see Li Lingtian standing in front of the array altar in a daze. Meanwhile, a few powerhouses who knew Array Dao were shocked. They could also see the fluctuation of the array on the array altar, but they could not see through the array. They were shocked to see that Li Lingtian was actually comprehending the array. Hearing Hua Qingfeng's words, all the martial emperors were shocked. Although Hua Qingfeng was not the strongest among the martial emperors here, he was not weak either. He was a level 5 martial emperor. If even Hua Qingfeng had become like this, it was obvious what kind of powerful beings were down there. Immediately, all the martial royal generals turned to look at Li Lingtian. Li Lingtian was invincible here. If he could not do anything about it, they would have to give up. This young master will try. If you don't plan to go down or don't want to suffer the destructive disaster, then leave immediately. Otherwise, this young master won't be polite. If you want to take the risk with this young master is not an unreasonable person. I will definitely not let you suffer. Li Lingtian pondered for a moment. Since it was not the Asmodeans down there, he might as well give it a try. However, when he went down, he definitely wouldn't let anyone around him stare at him like a tiger eyeing its prey. He would either go down and take the risk or leave quickly. Otherwise, he would not mind the Demon King Beast lulling him again. Alright, I'll take the risk with Sir Lingtian. If young noble Lingtian isn't afraid, then it's no big deal for me to risk my old life. I can go with Sir Lingtian. I'll stay too. All of a sudden, the 30 or so martial emperors started to ponder. After considering the pros and cons, they decided to stay and see what was going on. Hua Qingfeng also agreed. Although his soul consciousness was attacked, he still wanted to know what was down there. Following that, Li Lingtian began to ponder on how he should destroy the array altar. Divine Array Diagram, activate. After a long time, all the martial emperors looked at Li Lingtian, wondering if he had any way to break the array altar. However, when Li Lingtian took out the Divine Array Diagram, all the martial monarchs were shocked. This was the Divine Array Diagram that Li Lingtian had used in the battle against young Master Ming Xiao during the Great Battle of Sky Dragon City. Its power was amazing. If Li Lingtian was not a powerhouse from Sky Dragon Empire, they would have admired and worshipped him. This 17 or 18-year-old young man was not only a monster who killed a martial monarch powerhouse, but he was also a Tier 4 alchemy grandmaster and a mysterious holy array master. Power of the 5 elements. You guys balance the power of the 5 elements and work together to open the array altar. Linglan activated the divine array blueprint and cast array formations one after another. A mysterious and powerful light enveloped the array altar. The array altar began to tremble. However, he did not have the ability to activate the array altar alone. He needed the power of the 5 elements. He was also at the 5 elements' perfection, but he would not reveal his true abilities at a time like this. If he wanted to take a risk, he would have to work together. If he worked alone, he would have to be a fool. Alright. I am a metal type. I'm a fire type. I have the wood element. All of a sudden, everyone revealed their main attributes. There were more than 30 martial emperors with all kinds of attributes and martial souls. There were 9 types of martial souls. The martial souls of the 5 elements were ale in these martial souls. The 5 of you will be enough. You guys protect us and don't let the sea beasts disturb us. Linglan did not stand on ceremony. He chose 5 martial emperors from the 30 over martial emperors. These were the strongest among them. The other martial emperors were sent out to stop some sea beasts. Although these sea beasts didn't mean to attack, they were still affected by their sudden intrusion. Power of the 5 elements, activate. The 5 martial emperors unleashed their true essence and slowly suppressed the true Yuan array altar. They cooperated with Linglan to activate the array altar. Linglan cast a series of mysterious incantations as he chanted a mysterious and obscure chant. Boom! As time passed, the 5 martial emperors' true essence was almost depleted. At that moment, Linglan placed the last point on the array altar and a shocking explosion was heard. The IO-year-old frost iron soared into the sky. A square piece of IO-year-old frost iron shot out with a shocking cold air. The array altar also exploded in the explosion. The 5 martial emperors were sent flying and spat out a mouthful of blood. Chapter 196, Chapter 196, Golden Skeleton. Chapter 196, Golden Skeleton. Linglan watched as the 10,000-year frost iron flew up. He extended one hand and put away the divine array diagram. At the same time, he activated the divine dragon ring and a shocking suction force appeared, sucking the 10,000-year frost iron into it. Although the 10 millennium frigid ice iron was not refined by his divine consciousness, Linglan took advantage of the power of his ascension to retrieve it. The moment the 10,000-year frost iron was taken away, a destructive pressure came from the sea. This pressure came from below the array altar. After the array altar disappeared, a huge gray hole appeared. The size of the hole was almost the same as the array altar. This is the aura, this is the aura. Hua Qingfeng shouted out in a trembling voice as if he had seen a ghost. When he said that, all the martial emperors had been crushed by this pressure. In this pressure, martial emperors were worse than ants. All the martial emperors were pressed onto the ground of the sea area. They couldn't move at all, not even their fingers. Linglan spat out a mouthful of blood as his face turned pale. He had never seen such a pressure before. Moreover, this pressure was somewhat familiar. When he met the 9 Yang Saint Lord, the 9 Yang Saint Lord's phantom had such an aura. However, the Saint Lord of 9 Yang was only a consciousness and a soul. Otherwise, he would have been crushed to death. Divine pressure. Linglan muttered to himself as the expression of horror on his face changed continuously. No wonder this place was suppressed by the natural gravity formation. It turned out that there were real gods here that the divine martial continent could not touch. Flaming sacred body, 9 suns sacred flame. Thinking of the 9 Yang Saint Lord, he circulated his fire martial soul. He had the flaming sacred body and had fused with the immemorial ice crystal. The fusion of the ice crystal and the flames, coupled with the 9 Yang Saint Lord's soul, had a certain resistance against this kind of oppressive aura. Are you guys going down? Li Lingtian felt much more relaxed after he kept the oppressive aura around him at bay. He then shouted at the other martial emperors. However, after shouting, he felt that he was dumbfounded. More than 30 martial emperors were being suppressed. It was impossible for him to move at all. In front of this pressure, it was impossible to even leave, let alone continue. Sir Lingtian, I'll need you to make a move this time. This pressure is extending from the bottom. If we want to break this pressure, we can only start from the source. Zhao Linhai revealed a bitter smile. In front of this pressure, they were even inferior to ants. However, he was shocked to see how relaxed Li Lingtian was. A young man who was a martial arts grandmaster did not pose any threat in the face of such pressure. Moreover, he still wanted to go down. This was infuriating. This young master will have a slim chance of survival if I go down. If I can come back alive, you can also leave. If this young master can't come out, you can only pray for your own good fortune. With a faint smile on his face, Li Lingtian's body flashed and disappeared in the blink of an eye. He then entered the hole left behind by the array altar. Li Lingtian felt a tinge of regret when he entered the cave. The pressure outside the cave could easily crush a martial emperor to death. The pressure inside the cave was countless times stronger than the outside. The deeper they went, the stronger the pressure became. Even he could feel the crushing pressure of destruction. However, it was too late to go back on his word. It was impossible for him to come out. His body kept falling. He spat out a mouthful of blood and his body landed on the ground. After landing, he was shocked to find that this was a palace, unlike the bottom of the sea. Seawater could not enter through the hole. Inside the palace, the destructive pressure continued to crush him. At that moment, Li Lingtian could feel the few treasures in his dantian vibrating as if they had seen a delicious meal. The Heaven Extreme Tyrant Emperor Saber, the Roaring Dragon Combat Halberd, and the Heaven and Earth Creation Cauldron were all trembling. Li Lingtian smiled bitterly at the sight. With a flick of his divine consciousness, 3 treasures flew out. There was no other way. If he did not take out the 3 treasures, although he had fused with the treasures, they would also break out of his body. The 3 treasures floated in the air and kept spinning. The pressure and aura in the palace were constantly devoured by the 3 treasures. Yes, devour. Li Lingtian suddenly understood that his 3 treasures were also divine artifacts. Naturally, he liked the aura. However, the divine dragon ring didn't react to this aura at all. Instead, it formed an independent space. This aura and pressure couldn't get close to the divine dragon ring. The pressure became thinner and thinner. In the end, all the pressure disappeared and entered the 3 treasures. Shoo! At the bottom of the sea, more than 30 martial emperors heaved a sigh of relief. The disappearance of the pressure lifted them from their despair, and their faces were filled with horror. Finally disappeared. What is this aura? Even a martial saint or martial god doesn't have such an aura. Could it be the aura of a god? God's aura. Only this kind of aura can make sense. That's not important. What's important is that he actually ignored this aura and pressure. You should know that no matter how powerful a martial artist is, they are all treated equally in the face of pressure unless they have some heaven-defying treasure or physique. You mean to say that he has something to do with this aura? Of course. Otherwise, a 17-year-old young man who has reached the martial arts grandmaster realm and easily killed a martial emperor would only be able to explain this aura. All of a sudden, more than 30 martial emperors were shocked, more and more shocked. To be able to deal with such an aura, he was definitely a heaven-defying existence. At least, a martial emperor could not be so heaven-defying. Do you want to go down and take a look? Hua Qingfeng asked. He was aware of the danger down there, but since Li Lingtian could deal with the aura, he must have a way to survive down there. He wanted to go down and take a look as well. However, after he finished speaking, all the martial emperors fell silent. They didn't know whether they should go down or leave. Li Lingtian watched from below as the pressure dissipated. He felt a sense of relief as the 3 treasures floated in the air. He took the 3 treasures and slowly walked forward. He threw a pill into his mouth to recover his shaken mind. After walking for an unknown period of time, Li Lingtian had already explored the entire palace. Rather than calling it a palace, it was more like a square, a sealed square. It was a square with a radius of 1,000 meters. There was nothing in the square. However, at this moment, a 5-meter-wide staircase suddenly appeared in the center of the square. The staircase slowly rose. Finally, he stopped when he was 5 meters high. Li Lingtian's heart sank when he saw everything on the stairs. This was because there was a middle-aged man in green sitting cross-legged on the steps. He looked solemn. Although he was sitting in an ordinary posture and didn't emit any aura or life force, this middle-aged man gave people the urge to worship him. Junior Li Lingtian greets Senior. In his shock, Li Lingtian did not dare to bow at all. Instead, he quickly bowed to the man on the central steps. Li Lingtian could not imagine the man's strange appearance when he thought of the mysterious and shocking pressure. "I'm Li Lingtian. Greetings, Senior. I've trespassed into your cultivation cave abode by mistake. Please forgive me." Li Lingtian saluted again. However, a thought crossed his mind. This middle-aged man must have passed away. Otherwise, why would there be no life force or any movement? However, even so, he did not dare to be careless. After all, he could not be rude before he confirmed the life and death of the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man did not show any signs of movement even after 5 consecutive salutations. Li Lingtian continued walking forward step by step. Finally, he came to the front of the steps. In front of the steps, he carefully used his divine sense. His divine sense swept across the middle-aged man's body, and a destructive pressure erupted. What was even more powerful was that destructive divine sense, which was countless times stronger than his own. His divine sense was shaken and he spat out a mouthful of blood. His consciousness gradually blurred. "No!" Li Lingtian gritted his teeth as he shouted indignantly. He then cast the divine array diagram and a formation appeared around him, enveloping him within. He circulated all the true essence in his body and began to use a cultivation technique to stabilize his mind and soul. After a full 10 minutes, he gradually regained consciousness. His face was pale, and when he looked at the middle-aged man, he was even more afraid. This man had been dead for an unknown period of time, but the powerful divine sense that was left behind in this man's body had made him almost invincible. When Li Lingtian looked at the middle-aged man again, he had already disappeared. The middle-aged man didn't disappear, but he had already fallen on the stairs. His face had also turned into a skeleton, a golden skeleton. The green robe was still on his body. If his face hadn't turned into a skeleton, he wouldn't even know if this middle-aged man was really dead. After resting for a moment, Li Lingtian waved his hand and put away the array. He then slowly walked up the stairs, his heart trembling. Li Lingtian felt a little more relaxed when he reached the top of the stairs because he was certain that the man in green was dead. It had even turned into a skeleton, a golden skeleton. Could it be an expert above the martial god realm? That's impossible. Even if it's a martial god expert, the skeleton that they turn into after death will gradually decay. However, this expert is a golden skeleton. He must be an expert above the martial god realm. Li Lingtian muttered to himself. He knew a lot about the divine martial continent. The skeletons of powerhouses above the martial god realm were tens of thousands of times stronger than ordinary warriors after their deaths. Golden skeletons were something that only powerhouses above the martial god realm had.